Welcome, Jahmal Whosane, to Bridge the Gap. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and this is the show where we take very smart and intelligent people who have done interesting things and lived lives like the life you lived, whatever's, and we go through your story and we like extract knowledge nuggets from the various experiences that you have had throughout your journey because your journey is yours, and therefore this is definitely something we can all learn from it, and that's what's cool because everybody has one of those. Today the spotlight is on you as we delve into that. um yeah, Ismail keeps saying Jahmal Whosane because it's fucking cool to say. It's a cool name. I like it. I like it a lot.
Respect, respect. I
um
appreciate that.
and it's exciting to have you here. I mean, you're the guy who straight up wrote this like love song and still mentioned Preach's name in the middle of it. Like, and Preach said, "Don't do this," and I'm like, yo, isn't he trying to get the girl? What is he doing? And I thought that was one of the most memorable experiences I've had listening to a song where I thought it was great. I seen you a whole bunch of times on the back of Preach there, holding it down, showing love, and just being like that guy. And you know what? Everybody fucking needs that guy in life sometimes. And the fact that you're even willing to do that for anybody is just one of the most incredible things. And I think right off the jump, you deserve flowers for that because that is not a simple thing. I have been on the receiving end of, no offense to Preach, a couple of Preach phone calls. So I can only imagine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
Preach got that fire, you know.
I love it. It drives you to greater things. But as we do get into it, I have my little token first question. I like to start it off and shout out Audiophile for coming through. Um, it's a little bit of a story. When it lands, it all makes sense. I don't know if you heard before, but we're going to do it anyway just for whoever hasn't. So my girlfriend, she's washing the dishes and she's listening to that Black Eyed Peas song. That I got a feeling, ooh. And she's like vibing to it and she's dancing around and she's doing her thing. And I basically said to myself, yo, it's kind of nifty, right? Here it is, in this time of life, and it's chores music. It's this thing that you like, you vibe to, you maybe exercise to it, whatever, you parent to it, etc. Well, once upon a time, like 10 years back, we was up in the club, drunk as fuck, dancing around in circles to that very same fucking song, singing the very same kind of thing. And that got me thinking about vibes. It got me thinking about how music over time it kind of changes and whatnot, like its purpose kind of moves and it shifts depending on the world that you're in, which means if you really think about it, a whole bunch of kids of the future are growing up to WAP as their mom does some chores and whatnot. That's just the facts of the situation, as much as nobody wants to admit it, because a lot of people are they're gonna throw on that club music of today as they go do the sweepies in the dishes, and that's just the realities of the world. And then I started thinking a little bit about like vibes and music and our stories and how music attaches to our stories. And I realized when we start talking about music often, we go back to this point where like it's adolescence usually, and we kind of latch on and attach ourselves to musical identities and whatnot. But really, that's not where it really starts for us. It actually starts like way before. It starts when you're really, really, really young and you're like 5, 4, whatever you can remember, and there's sounds going on all around you. It's maybe family,
Yep.
siblings, whoever it may be, but these people create like this soundscape of your existence, which is also part of like your musical journey. So like for me, I can remember being real young. I listened to my dad with these Zeppelin tapes, and it was through all the tapes to the speakers and the multi-layered gray fucking boxes. And my mom, she had these knockoff disco tapes you could get at the dépanneur and fucking $3, and it was all the classics performed poorly. And then like for some reason Krista Berg was like in the car, it was not in the apartment, and there was bad techno music at night, all kinds of stuff that created like this foundation that ultimately led into who I am as an artist today. So I think if we're going to talk about your life and whatnot, it's mad important to bring you all the way back to being a real young guy. And if you could tell us what it was like, the sounds, the technologies, the vibes, like a 4-year-old Jahmal Whosane in that whole world in existence.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, yo, thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here. I see you do your thing. You know, the interviews are fire and whatnot. People drop their knowledge nuggets, as you call them. So it's great that you're here taking in, this history of the Montreal scene, of the New York scene, whoever you interview. It's great that you're taking in this journey and, sharing it forward, paving the way for like the next generation. So like to answer your question, um, I like to say, you said 4 or 5 years old, but to me, I think it even starts way back to as early as when you're in the womb. you
Mm.
know, when you're in that womb, you know, a child recognizes their mother's voice when they're born. Why? Because, normally their mother is speaking to them, and I made it like I'm a young father or whatnot, but like I made it a point to try and, speak to my children like when they were in the womb so that they could, recognize my voice and whatnot, that sound, right? Um, so growing up for me, like I know hands down, like my mom was born in Jamaica. She came here when she was like 17, or 16 or whatnot. But it was always that reggae culture, It was that roots, that reggae. My dad, shout outs to Jabi. He didn't have the sound crew when I was born, but there was always music around. So he definitely had the turntables, and it was a lot of Bob Marley, a lot of Dennis Brown, Gregory Isaacs, like some serious roots, roots culture.
Alright, so what I've been able to surmise so far is that there's a lot of reggae going on around, and there may or may not be turntables available for people to be spinning in a young man such as yourselves' presence.
Yeah, that's like, when I was born. I know the sound crew, Black Temple Sound Crew, that started maybe around 93. But they definitely had turntables and whatnot, some sound systems that they're playing this music. So when I was born in, July of 90, this is what I'm hearing, a lot of this type of music.
Alright, so basically what you're saying is, how about you expand on the Black Temp? Sorry, what's the group name one more time?
Yeah, Black Temple Sound. Um, it was a DJ crew, started in like 93, so when I was around like 3 years old. um my dad decided, along with his brother, few cousins, to get out there in the dance hall scene and really like play some music. So when you see me with Preach, or if you've seen me with Preach before, you would hear us shout out Black Temple, or we run a Black Temple set, basically, showing you some of the stuff that I grew up listening to, and kind of where the music is going now. Preach is always like paving the way forward, so Preach will give you that, um more of today's sounds and whatnot, but I like to showcase the music that I grew up on, the roots.
Mm.
So Black Temple sound was like a champion sound back in the 90s, definitely, a champion sound. Like we stood up to heavy. Well, they stood up. I say we because it's, the family thing, but it's really them who stood up against big sounds like, Kilimanjaro, and when Tony Mataran came to Montreal, like, Preach was able to hang around these big DJs based on, the different vibes that we had, the different sound that we were spinning. Because a lot of DJs, they play the same music, right? But as you say, it's a vibe, right? Some will spin it in a way that you catch a completely different vibe than, you, one of the more local DJs or your favorite DJ. So Black Temple, they were known for bringing, for blessing the dance, as you would say. My dad always say you have to bless the dance before like you mash it up, when you bring that dance hall, that heavy, that heavy music, that fast pace, the vibes, as you want to call it.
Fair enough. So you're gonna have to remember as we're doing through this that some of the stuff in your soul that is like mad inherent to you as commonplace knowledge is not inherent to us. It's commonplace knowledge. So you drop in all these DJ collectives, and I'm like, yo, hold up. I don't even think I know much about the fact that there was a DJ scene in Montreal. I mean, I know Don Smooth told me there were some shits. I know a couple top level things. But yo, Golden Jenny
Yeah.
from Norway comes through and shit. You gotta be remembering the whole world don't know it like people here might know it. So we gotta expand sometimes. So what we're hearing is you're like 3, and your dad is busting into the Montreal scene as part of a collective called Black Temple
Yep.
that's going toe to toe with the best of the best around here. And that is you're not even five, you're three. And this is basically right. So they got the table spinning. So your whole life off the fucking jump is already connected to music like that.
Yes, sir.
Yo, that's
Right
mad.
off the bat.
That's mad nifty. So let's go. We gotta talk about this more though, right? Because basically, yeah, yeah. Expand on that reggae scene and even the lingo. We'll get to that too, because you gotta remember mash it up and stuff. Like I do know what that means. I went to Wager. I'm not like completely bad at all of this, but like not everybody's gonna know all of these words sometimes. We might have to pause a little bit and break it down, but it's okay. We bridge gaps
Yes,
here.
sir.
We extract
That's
knowledge
it.
nuggets. Um, so for real though, were you like destined for some shit? And I say that because you're not the first person I've talked to that had like parents involved in some shit right off the jump, which tends to put people on a more like you're already getting some practice in at like 5 years old that most of us ain't clocking till we old as fuck. You know what I'm saying? So like, are you like at like a young age interested in being a DJ? Are you learning some little vinyl shits going on? Is it vinyls they're using?
Oh yeah, back in, in the 90s, it was like all vinyls, 45s, yeah, I was, that little kid reaching up on the table, seeing what's going on, trying a 1 2, spinning or whatnot. But I was, I would say I was interested in the sound effects. I think the sound effects caught me a lot because we had like a little box, you know, um, where we had a lot of the effects, the lasers, the sirens, a lot of the stuff that you might hear DJs use
Like that
to,
shit.
yeah, the explosions, whatnot. So back then it was like a whole separate console. So I remember that was like the first machine I was able to use. My dad would let me, press a few buttons here and there while he was practicing. Um, yeah, so that's kind of how I gained a bit of interest in it. Um, yeah, just by watching, and I was curious.
That's still cool. Were you ever able to do the little button pushing in the club at the live set, or was that just practice time?
Uh, it was mostly just practice. I wasn't that 14-year-old going to the clubs or anything like that.
Nah, fair enough.
My mom kind of had a different path for me in a sense, a idea of where she wanted me to go, kind of wanted me to focus on the books when I got older.
Oh, we're not even older yet. We
Um,
still like young. Okay, we still
exactly.
young. Are you busting some dance moves and stuff off the jump? I mean, coming from the Jamaican roots, there has to be dancing. That's basically the one thing that's been laid down to me is everybody dances.
Yeah, everybody dances for real. Um, Definitely when I was younger, I know I wasn't all a shy guy or whatnot. I bust a few moves here and there. Watch them music videos and whatnot. The Beanie Man. Those of you who don't know who Beanie Man is, that's one of Jamaica's like top artists. Um, so I think back then, yeah, '94, and I was a big Beanie Man fan. My favorite songs was like um, "Girls Them Sugar" and
That's a great song.
stuff like that. Yeah, yeah,
Nah, for real, I like it a lot. Like in my head, I was going, Sima, who got the
you
keys to
know.
my machine? But nah, for real, that's dope though. Cause like for me at like that age, I'm like Sesame Street. You know, like it's
I
different.
feel
It's a
you.
different
Yeah,
universe. It's not the same
yeah.
vibe.
Yeah,
um,
honestly, like the Sesame Street, it may have been on the TV, but the music was in the back, like 24/7. So sometimes, the music took over. I'd more tune into that as opposed to whatever was on TV.
mm. So yo, were you also into the drawings and the visual stuffs? Is that another thing that you had interest in?
Um, yeah, a little bit, but I knew from jump like my drawing sucks, so I didn't really attempt to make any kind of art. But in terms of visuals, I was always captivated by visuals.
Mm.
Um, the stories you're able to tell visually, like, you can you can put pictures to lyrics, right? Through music videos, and
So were you
and you
like
can understand a story.
so were you like down to be a singer already or a rapper like when you were like young? Was that already a passion or were you more like dad's a DJ, I'm gonna be a DJ?
Well, see, like, I'm just getting a memory now. It wasn't even like the DJ thing. I remember my mom, the first time I could remember laying down some vocals was in church. you know. So my mom had me and my sister up in church, at the altar, and we were just there singing those repetitive verses over and over and over until somebody felt like stopping the song. Like that's what that was my introduction to like a microphone in front of an audience, as far as I can remember.
Yeah, the church
You
grind
know?
is real. Yo, a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
people told me about the church grind. Like Meticulous and
yeah.
them, a whole bunch of them went through the same church. All of them got a
Hmm.
bunch of music practice and went on to be like people in the scene later on. And I'm like, yo, that's a real grind in this city. Are you? Oh, hold on, we didn't even ask that shit. Are you from here? I didn't even ask that. As a failure of me. Go this long.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yes, born and raised. I like to say born uptown, raised DG. Spend the most of my life in St. Henry, so I rep the whole 514.
That's fair enough. I'm
Hmm.
with you on that. It's just it has to be established, because we can't go through a whole interview and not talk about if you're actually born here or not. Not everybody's born
Right?
here. It's important. It's like a wiki page. If we wanted to look up the Wikipedia of Jahmal Whosane, where is he from?
Yes,
It's a
sir.
very important part. Yo, what's up, Lewis the Red? Welcome to the streams. Um,
Welcome, welcome.
the 514 is Montreal. I don't know.
Yes, sir.
I just saw the question.
514 Montreal.
I just saw a question. Anyway, I respond to the Twitch pretty liberally at this point. I'm just kind of used to it. Like answer
Yeah.
it, if the vibe's right. If not, we just ignore it a little bit.
Hmm.
But anyway, uh, so you're basically coming up in an environment then as you're getting a little bit older. So you've already got music coming around, but it's like it's around you is what I'm getting the vibe. You're going to church, and so therefore you do it. Your dad's a DJ, therefore you hear it. You're just trying to watch that Sesame Street. You can't even get in that vibe. You're distracted. So at what point does it go from being like, yo, straight up, this is like a thing that's around me to yo, I fucks with that song. I want to hear more of that. Do you remember like that like moment in your life and when it happened?
Uh, um, it was probably when I was 6 or 7. When I got introduced to more like hip hop. Um, at that time, I was able to watch stuff like Much Music, right?
Mm.
Much Music had shows like Rap City, where you might get like an hour of rap videos once a week.
I remember.
Um, yeah. What was his name? Mr. T or something like that. But yeah. So I think it was like Snoop's album, Doggy Style, that like got my attention to hip hop, right? I know that was like 93, but I more saw the videos later on. Um
Which is
yeah.
it's probably a little better for like to get them later on. That was a wild Snoop Dogg period.
That's it, right? But nah, I was just fascinated by just the West, the sound of the West. Like even today, like I still like that G funk sound, has
Mm.
like a nice vibe to it. So for me, yeah, there wasn't one particular song that made me say like, yo, I want to hear more of this, because I was getting a lot of the reggae, the roots, the dancehall, and even the disco. My dad had like somebody on the crew played a lot of disco. My barber, actually, it was his best friend, a guy by the name of Scotty. Yeah, so my dad would take me to Scotty's house to get my hair cut and whatnot. and Scotty would play more disco. Um, and and I would appreciate, the disco sound and whatnot. So then when I heard the G funk, everything kind of just blended all together for me.
Mm. So, all right. So when did you like take it to that like level and be like, nah, this is like something I want to be a part of? Also, as you're growing up with this Black Temple thing, how much is this like impacting your life? Are you like involved in the scene? Because I know you're like really young at this point, so there's a good chance you say your mom's trying to keep you over here, go down a different route. So how like much are you seeing of what's happening in this part of Montreal's hip hop scene, given that to some degree at least you're connected to it?
Um, so like, again, even before high school, I was seeing my uncle. My uncle kind of took over when my dad made the restaurant his focus. He ended up opening quite a few different restaurants. Back in 1990, he had one called Eminem. So that was around the same time he was running Black Temple. So he had the restaurant, he had the music. Um, Few years later, like 99, he opened up another restaurant called Jamaica Way on Queen Mary. So again, it was, his focus was more on the music again. So my uncle kind of took over the sound. My uncle and my cousin, also Preach was there. So I would spend a lot of my time at my grandmother's house, and my uncle lived there. Well, it's actually his grandmother, so my great grandparents. So I spent like the majority of my weekends there, and I just remember like every weekend I would just wait for my uncle to kind of like open his room door. Like as soon as the sun, as soon as the sun rise, like I'd be that little kid just waiting, waiting for him to like wake up. I hear him run to the bathroom kind of thing. And it's like, did he leave his door open? No, okay, that means he's going back to sleep. His door's open. All right, I can enter. And then when I do get inside, I'm able to, see the turntables, watch him, make mixes on the computer. And that really sparked my interest, much more, but still, like, I wasn't allowed to touch it in a sense. I wasn't allowed to touch it. But what happened when I turned 10, um, my mom decided, like, I wasn't going to waste my time after school just sitting down, waiting for her to like finish work because she worked in the building, in the same building as the school. So I'd be
Ooh.
able to go chill. Yeah. I would,
Yo, my mom was a
yeah,
lunch
yes and
monitor,
no.
right? So it'd be shit where like I'd say like she tells me these stories, so I don't know how true they are. And then Holden would go, fuck, and then he'd turn around and there I was. And it would just and then that would happen. I would get in trouble from my own fucking mother in school because she'd hear me swearing and all that shit you're supposed to be doing in the schoolyard when your mom's not like anyways, yeah, having your mom at school
Yeah,
has some consequences that are just a little different.
it it does. But my mom was young. She had me at 19, right?
Mm.
So when my friends would see her, they would all be like, "That's your mom," and everybody thought she was like an older sister or whatnot. So it was kind of a thing where it's like, okay, I didn't want my friends to, take on that whole MILF thing from young, where it's just like, yo, your mom is hot, like, so kind of keep her in the corner when I keep her downstairs, and I do my thing. But she ended up signing me up for a steel band. I
Ooh.
don't know. Yeah.
I went to
So
Uyghur. Of course, I know still that. Okay, but you're
yeah,
right. We should
steel
describe it
band.
still. For the people who don't know, I have to remember other people.
Yes. So those who don't know what the steel pan is, right? It was an instrument invented in Trinidad and Tobago. They basically took an oil drum and made various cuts out of it to create the different pans. Um, yeah, they go through the whole process to get the different sounds: soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. So my mom signed me up back in like 2000, 2001. That school year, I remember it was funny because all my friends were playing steel pan, but they were in the advanced class. So when my mom told me that she signed me up, I was actually upset. And I was like, no, I actually cried. I was just like, no, like why'd you do that? I don't want to play. Like all my friends are, in senior class and I'm gonna start out in junior. I kind of had that a fear when I was young. A fear I kind of struggled with throughout my life, but that fear was present. But it was crazy. Like I went to one junior class and like I felt like overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God, like I don't really want to be here. I don't know nobody here. I didn't sign up for this. My mom's forcing me to do something I don't want to do. And then, the very next day, I remember waiting, for my mom to finish work. And my friends like just ran downstairs to the daycare where she worked. And they're like, yo, Jamal, come with us. I'm just like, yo, like, what's up? Like, go where? They're like, steel band. I'm like, steel band for what? They're like, yo, there's too many juniors in the class. So, Salah, shout out to Salah Wilson. He needed to move up a few players. So since all my friends were in seniors, they automatically picked me. They're just like, yo, choose Jamal, choose Jamal. So, that in that moment, like I was all excited. I was all happy now. It's like, all right, yeah, I get to go be with my friends, join the steel band. Cool. Maybe it won't be so bad. I see them having fun. Like, I could enjoy it. So I ended up going to that class and I remember I walked in, all excited and whatnot. And the very first thing Salah asked us to do was put the notes on the scale. And I was just like, oh my God. So I was kind of like on a roller coaster ride. I was disappointed, didn't want to do it, excited because my friends were doing it. And then I became like discouraged again because I had no idea what he was talking about. And it felt like an exam. So I felt like the pressure was on. Like, if I don't get this right, I might end up back in junior class because I got a whole bunch of shit I got to learn. you know? So, you know, I ended up placing whatever notes wherever I thought it belonged, but I think I got one note right out of like 16. But from there, that's kind of where my journey, took a different direction. You know?
So what was the direction it took at that point?
So I found myself enjoying like steel band. The very first song that I learned to play was Ave Maria, a classical piece.
Mm.
So yeah, and I even remember the first note, like, rolling on that A. I played the alto, so it was like the middle section. Um it's two steel pans, right? It's two steel pans that you play at the same time. There's a couple notes on each side. Um but yeah, we just started out by learning classical pieces and I just found that interesting. It's like because steel pan is associated with like parang, soca, you know, uh, calypso music, right? That upbeat Caribbean music. But to hear myself play, Ave Maria, a classical piece at a much slower tempo, you know, um, I just found that very intriguing, and it captivated me more than playing anything else that would have been on the radio, kind of thing. Because a lot of the times when you're in school bands or school choirs, right, you might have to sing certain songs that are just popular. They don't really spark your interest, right? So I found it interesting that we were playing this classical piece and we ended up doing like a whole concert of just classical music.
Mm.
Every year we did one.
Yeah, I just remember just on that subject, I had to learn to play a simplified version of My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion on the recorder in grade 6.
Wow.
And I can remember that motherfucker. Just D, 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 F sharp, D. Anyway, just like fucking,
Right.
you just remember that. I'm like, why? because the Titanic movie was lit that year,
Yeah,
and
it
then
was lit, bro.
and that's what happened. So I just have that memory. I remember,
Yeah.
but I remember a lot of steel band performances. Actually, maybe not everyone else had that experience, but when you go to my high school, uh, at least 3 times a year, maybe not at the end, but in the beginning parts, multiple things. There's multicultural day, steel drums. Whatever thing,
Yep.
steel drums. So you just have these events where like we're all in the auditorium and it would be these elaborate steel drum shows and they're fucking awesome. And I got to really enjoy it. Like I can't
Yeah.
necessarily bump the shit like put it on my headphones, but you go into a
Right.
room where this shit's being played out for it's high energy. You just feel the
Yeah,
vibe and
man.
it's wonderful. So that's
It's a
fresh.
serious vibe, man.
That's like your inception point into like creating in a sense. Where you like, so are you
Yeah.
like also like freestyling with it? You know, just jamming around with your peeps, having a whole bunch of fun.
At that age, you know, it kind of started. Yeah, I had a few friends right from another school that we linked up with, St. Monica. So I went to Coronation Elementary, and every year we teamed up with St. Monica to form a band for the competition that I believe it started in 2000. Um, so yeah, we kind of was introduced to the festival, the Montreal International Steel Pan Festival. So we had a band that we would play in the junior competition and whatnot. And yeah, like I remember my friends from that school, they would come over to Coronation for practice, and out of nowhere on the breaks, these guys are just like, yo, and
Hey.
then what, somebody knows how to play the drums, so they go, it was just vibes, right? Just playing Mission Impossible, all kind of music, like it was fun,
Yeah, that's dope though. I know where those
Yeah,
schools are. That's fun. I went to EBS,
yeah,
so like we in the same hood, literally.
yeah,
Like I don't know.
yeah, man.
Did you ever do the Strathern Park fucking Canada Days and shit like that?
Um, I did them later on, not with the school or anything, but with when I joined Salah Steel Pan band, like later on, yeah, we ended up playing at like a few Canada Day parades, like in like the West Island and things like that.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah.
that's fresh, man. So you're basically going through high school and you're doing steel pan and you're doing all that. Are you also at this point developing any kind of interest in vocal work? You want to be a rapper at this point? Is that also going on in your life?
Well, that's still elementary. I started in
Hold up, steel pan
elementary.
is elementary. My bad.
Yeah,
Wow, you're
grade
like,
grade five.
you said these schools. I know what these schools are, and I still like went with that. My bad.
All good, all good. Yeah, that started in grade five. Um, and I remember just any chance we got for creative writing. So when it came to like Black History Month, I remember grade six. I kind of started with like some. I started dabbling more into poetry. I'm pretty sure I was writing a bit, some poetry before that. Maybe just a little here and there, or just trying to rhyme. Because yeah, I was a big like Snoop fan growing up and whatnot. And by the time I hit grade six, you had all the Lils, right? The Lil Bow Wow, the Lil Waynes, the Lil Zane. So I was kind of a fan of those guys, all because they were like young, like Lil Bow Wow was probably like a year or two older than me. So I was just like, like I can rap. We actually were writing raps. Like in grade five, we didn't really like the grade sixers, so I think we took like a DMX song, and like we kind of remixed it, like stop, drop one of them tracks. We remixed that. So definitely, I was rhyming back then. Doing stuff like, yo, my name is JBS. I put you straight to the test, and if you say yes, I'll show you who's the best. Like stuff like that.
You know
I
what I like
remember all of
about
those
you?
from elementary.
Nobody remembers the elementary bars, or they pretend like they don't. Awesome, Jamal. That's
Yo.
amazing. We did just get a question from the comments though. What
Yeah.
other than Snoop, which G Funk artists were you into at that time?
Other than Snoop, man, like at the time, I didn't know who was the producers of like the sounds or whatnot, or where the samples came from, right? Like the George Clinton and all of that. I didn't know, but just that whole West Coast. So started Death Row, whatnot. Dr. Dre, Snoop, Ice Cube, like all of them. Um, I was listening to. I remember having a VHS, right? A VHS, a cassette tape of just some music videos that I would watch the late 90s, like early 2000. It definitely featured Still DRE was on there. I remember that. I think at the time that probably was my favorite song. Yeah.
That's a
So
good
that
song.
was still on there. Yeah. Um yeah,
No, fair enough.
obviously Pac. Um yeah, there was the East Coast influences also, but yeah, the G Funk. I just like Snoop style, I like this style.
No, I respect that. Personally, I
Yeah.
was bumping Linkin Park. It is what it is. We just attach onto
Yeah,
some shits, and if you find it, and nah, that's totally cool. So
yeah.
you were in grade 5 writing diss songs against the grade 6 kids, which is very cool. I'm gonna put that out there. It's a cool thing to
Yeah.
do. And then you're playing Steel Pan, so already you're quite the
Hmm.
impressive 10-year-old. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Respect, respect.
So what happens
Um,
after? I guess you kind of coast on this. You writing some rhymes through elementary school. I don't know if there's much else significant happening in a 10-year-old world. Are you actually? Are you getting more integrated at this point into the Montreal scene at all? Or are you still kind of too young in a different path?
I was still kind of, too young, not really paying attention or not asking questions about the Montreal scene. And even to be honest, I probably didn't realize there was a scene back then. All I knew was like the DJ culture. You
Mm.
know, um, it wasn't until high school that's when I really saw, like rappers, and I saw ciphers in the cafeteria and whatnot.
Where'd you go to high
But
school?
sorry.
Where'd you go to high school?
Marymount. I went to Marymount High,
Mm.
Marymount Academy, I should say. you know, but I was in the again. I was in like the IB program, the international program, right?
That's
One of
basically
only
the
two
super
black
smart
kids.
kid program with the special
That's what they
privileges.
call it, right? But I wasn't super smart, you know what I mean? I just had great teachers that,
Yo, hold
fought for
on.
me, believed in me, and
How many things you doing
yeah.
in your life right now? Like six? You like 6, 7 things in your life? That's not a. It's not. That's a super smart person thing. So
Maybe.
maybe they were right way back then.
Yeah. I was a brother. By that time, I had about four sisters. Hoping for a brother, but my dad keep bringing out the princesses. You know, um, but yeah, like grade 6, going into high school. I think my dad kind of took Rasta, like the Rastafarian faith, more seriously, and I kind of got more interested in that because I think I was like 10 years old. As I said, like my mom had me in the church or whatnot, but like I always questioned things or, didn't really understand. But around 10 years old, I felt like I had like my biggest scar. Um, I'm here listening to the pastor, preach about Jesus died for my sins and whatnot. But out of nowhere, I don't know if a 10-year-old was supposed to know this information, but I ended up hearing, like one of the biggest scandals at the time, right? pastor had an affair with like somebody in the congregation, and for me that was like, oh my god, like this man is preaching to me about, you know, saving me and things, and I thought he was saved, but like, you know, he just committed this big sin or whatever the case was.
Mm,
So that was kind of like shocking for me, and I was just like, well, you know, maybe what he's saying, you know, isn't all there. So I kind of would research about like Selassie, and I would be the one to like kind of bring information to my dad, you know. Um, and I remember, I think I was 12, so like in high school. This is when I kind of picked up the songwriting, but it was I started out writing like reggae songs. I remember writing like reggae verses. Um,
yeah,
just come up with like a melody in my head and whatnot, and
I got a
I
question,
would that's what I would write. Yeah.
like a real good one. Ismail asked, and I know there's a lot of people who really, really, really want to know but never get to ask. Can you expand on what Rastafarianism like actually is?
Yeah, I could do that. I could do that. So, for those of you who don't know, um, Marcus Garvey, you know, made some would say like a, what do they call it? Like a premonition or something along those lines, right? The word isn't in my head right now, but he basically told black people. For those of you who don't know who Marcus Garvey is, right? Um, he is a Pan Africanist, right? He basically was trying to get um, blacks of the West. You know, he was born in Jamaica, and he did end up coming to the U.S., but he basically wanted um, our people to kind of repatriate back to Africa, right? So he made like a proclamation, or he had a premonition, and he said, "Look to the east for the crowning of a black king." You know, so in Jamaica, when they heard that, they looked to the east, and then in 1930, Haile Selassie was crowned King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, right?
Right.
And Judah, right, is one of the greatest tribes, right? Um, just said that Christ was born from Judah, or Christ is a Judite. So um, they seen Haile Selassie as that king that Marcus Garvey promised. So um, basically, a lot uh, of people, Rastas, viewed him as the coming of God. You know,
Mm,
God in the person, God in the flesh, or even Christ. Christ returned 2,000 years. You know, the prophecy has been fulfilled. A lot of people viewed Haile Selassie as that Christ, as that savior. If you check out a lot of his speeches, you know, his speeches all about, you know, equality. Um, Bob Marley used some of his speeches in his lyrics, in some of his songs. You know, one of the most popular ones being "War," right? Until that day, right? Um, so yeah, so basically, a lot of people view it as a religion, but they'll tell you it's not really a religion. It's a way of life. It's a livity. They'll call it a livity, a way of life. You know, it's just a natural way of living, right? Um, you don't hate no one. You know, you view all as equal. Black, white, yellow, red. We're all equal. You know, Mother Earth creates and provides everything that its creation needs. So humans, animals, and whatnot. Mother Earth provides everything that you need to survive. So there's no need for, you know, certain killing. We don't need to. They view like we don't need to kill animals for food when there's plant life, there's vegetables, and whatnot. You know, um, we don't need to destroy the earth in terms of you know, doing too much mining or all this construction, different things like that, right? Anything that's harmful for the earth, you know, there's a limit to it, or we don't need it in a sense. Man is to live simple, right? We don't need much to survive, basically. It's kind of like the Rasta idea. And with that, you have different groups or different mansions, right? With every ideology, there's different mansions, different branches, that interpret the message in different ways. um
So yeah,
yeah, but that's basically
yo.
Rasta.
So basically, Willie has a question. Are
Mm.
he has Rastas are Christians, and it's just in reference to maybe because I took it like you transitioned like Christians was kind of not it, and then you saw Rastafari, and you were like that looks more interesting. That's what I understood. But
Yeah.
is it are they more linked than that? Is there like a
See,
bigger
they
connection?
believe enough Rastas read the Bible, right? A lot of it is based on Bible, because as I said, they view
Right.
Selassie as the coming of Christ, right? So prior to Selassie, right, all people had was the Bible, or all Jamaicans had was the Bible. We didn't have our spirituality from Africa, prior to becoming slaves and all of that. So the religion that they had was some form of Christianity. Um, so Rastas viewed Selassie as the true Christ, right? So they interpret the Bible in a different way. They interpret the truth, as they would say, right? Um, so they wouldn't call themselves Christians. I wouldn't call them Christians either,
Mm.
right?
I appreciate that distinction. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's like I'm sure everyone can go Google some of this stuff, but sometimes it's just better to have Jamal break it down. That's why you're here. It's wonderful, man. Yo, thank
Yeah.
you. Like that's what Willie says. I agree. That's the
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
blessed part of this is where we get to get knowledge nuggets.
That's it.
All right. So prior to that, you were describing going into high school, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So yeah, going into high school, I started the songwriting was, a lot of reggae. Um, I was still playing steel band, so I kind of brought the steel band into Marymount. There was none there before,
Okay.
but yeah, like our group, we were fire. We were fire. We kind of brought the band to. We did one show at Marymount. Um, it was either the year I started or prior to. I believe it was the year I started at Marymount, 2002. We did one show. So this is the EMSB band. So Coronation and Saint Monica. We did one show at Marymount, and then it was like the crowd went crazy, whatnot, as usual. But I think the week later, the vice principal made an announcement, and he kind of messed up. He wanted to say, those of you who are in the steel band, who are in steel pan, right, who play steel band or whatever, report to the office. He accidentally said, those of you who want to play steel pan, please come to the office. By the time I went downstairs, bro, the whole lobby was flooded. Right, like it was nuts. Like half the assembly was in the lobby, wanting to play steel pan. So the interest was like so high that, yeah, we basically brought a band to Marymount. But yeah, there was obviously not enough pans for 200 people to join up one time, right?
Jamal joined up is what I'm taking from
Yeah.
that little strut. Like,
Well,
what are you saying? Of course I was there.
for sure, for sure. By then I moved on to the bass. I started out on alto. I tried out soprano. So I played the midsection, I played lead, and then I gravitated to the bass because it looked more complicated. The bass is six oil drums, like it's six drums that you play at the same time, basically. There's like three notes on each drum, so there's a lot more movement, and I enjoyed that.
Mm.
Um, Later on we could post some links to some steel pan videos that you guys could check out. I was used to playing songs for like 8 minutes, man. Like those are the competitions that I grew up playing. Like once I joined Salas Steel Pan Academy, and it was like high school time. We were playing like 8-minute songs at 120 BPM. You know,
That
um, it's just beer vibes, man. So
really, I really enjoyed that. Chris cut all that out,
yeah.
unfortunately, because of copyright and shit. But
Ain't
yo,
no copyright on that.
it's uh, it's a principle thing though, because
I feel you.
it's like that stuff. You were here. You had the moment with us. Shout out to all the people that with us. That was the moment.
That's it.
And then Chris, keep the part in when we talk about the moment. Shout out Chris. He's editing the shit, making it look all pretty and cutting out bad parts or whatever. So, all right. So you're doing that, which is pretty incredible. Now we have more context to how lit Jahmal is at a young age, feeling music in his soul, bopping around, being incredible, dissing older kids with his raps, already coming in heavy. So you get to Marymount, you got that stuff going on. Out of curiosity, are you an athlete? Because I know about the basketballs and stuff. Because y'all went to the Wagers, so like we's in that other parts.
Nah, I'm an asthmatic. Got that under control now or whatnot.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, like, see, remember like earlier I talked about like the fear, you know? I always had like a little bit of fear, that little shyness in me. So I never really, there's things that I may be good at, but I never really pushed and pursued, right?
mm.
Basketball, I never felt like I was the greatest or anything like that. But you know, I was good when I was younger. Um, I remember that. I was good when I was younger. I remember in '97 when my dad took me to Jamaica Day. We used to celebrate Jamaica Day back then. I know Don Smooth and them, they'll know where it was, like Van Horn Park, where it was like lit. Um, that's when it was lit. But I remember that's when I won like my first and maybe only trophy. I was 7, and it was a race. You know, it was like 100 meter sprint kind of thing. You know,
Yo, it's
and
big wins though. I don't care what anyone
yeah,
says. I ain't getting no trophy
you
on
know,
athletics ever.
that's it. Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, they wanted to give me a medal, right? They just wanted to give me a medal, and my dad's like, "What? What is no sir?" you know, and he went back to them and he's like, "Nah, I want that." You know, and it's like he took the trophy. You know, he's like, he wants that. So I remember my dad got me the trophy, and yeah, you know, it was an achievement. It was great, nice accomplishment. You know, I played basketball definitely when I was younger. Elementary, I was on like the basketball team and whatnot. As I got more serious going into high school, though, like so, like the late grade fives, grade six, there was always my friends that took it more serious than me. They were actually playing like for the rec, playing on recreational teams in the city and whatnot. So they definitely like made the teams, and I was there like, you know, sub or whatever the case was. Um, but
I relate to that.
yeah, in high school, I didn't really pick that up. Only at like recess and lunchtime, like we're playing touch football. Like yeah, that was my that was my thing, man.
All right. So, are you at any point in high school getting more into the to like I want to be a rapper? I mean, you're already performing. You're already doing all this other stuff. So I mean, we know that's going on because that's like crazy. But also like, I mean, well, the other guys weren't in. Were they all in steel pan groups? Also, nah. I'm pretty sure they were. Were they? Because I don't know. Maybe they were. Maybe not. Still, my point is, you were doing some busy shit. You were doing some incredible things at that
Yeah,
time. You was not being lazy.
respect, appreciate that. Like I was always in steel band from I joined in 2000 Like that was something I was consistently in. So when I reached high school, you know, a few years later, we brought the band we created a band in Marymount, but like there wouldn't have been none had not like half the band from the EMSB, Coronation, and St. Monica, we all ended up at Marymount.
Right.
So you know, we kind of established like another business opportunity and a learning opportunity for those who wanted to pick it up, right? But we basically created another band, so it was another space for um teenagers to learn music, because it wasn't just about like, oh, playing whatever song was popular or whatnot. Like, we actually had to learn songs, like learn music.
I like that
um
distinction.
yeah, we learned music. We there was the classical. We had to play classical music every year, right? So we're starting out with a classical piece right off the bat. From it starts in like October up until December. You have the December concert, classics and carols, classics to calypso as they called it. So we're playing classical music up until December. Things like Phantom of the Opera, like that was probably like one of the last songs I played. um what else? Ave Maria was the first one. Like, we played Nutcracker, like all of that stuff, Canon, everything, everything. And then, so the second half of the year now is more geared towards the panorama vibes. Um, as you just played a clip from 2010, right? The 2010 competition. So that was the goal. We were practicing to get towards that. And if you were good enough, if you were in Marymount, Coronation, or St. Monica, and you were good enough there, the family, like the Sala family, Sala Wilson, right? The Wilson family, they would ask you if you would want to join their band, right? Because their band was the one that was competing in those competitions from the 90s. They went as a 5-piece. They mashed it up, as I said before. They shut down the place. They won the competition. Like, they destroyed all the other bands that were there as a 5-piece. And then from that point on, they started creating rules. Oh, no, we need a minimum of 12 players now, or whatever it is. Um, yeah, it's just funny how they operate though, because
Yeah,
I remember
elaborate.
the first
Elaborate on the
competition
funny.
I went to. We're in Montreal, right? So I remember the first competition we went, 2007. That was the one that we won. The first year we started winning back to back was 2007. We played a song. Um, we played "I Want You Back" by Jackson 5. That was our tune of choice. We played "I Want You Back," and then we played another song. I can't remember what the panorama song was, but basically we went down there. We shut it down. We won the competition. It was a group of mostly students. As I said, if you were good enough in the elementary schools, then you were like, if you showed potential in the elementary schools and you were willing to do the work, because the family band was like no joke. Like, it was no Mickey Mouse practice. Like, whatever we did in school, we got away with like the joking around and whatnot. Um, but once we reached the academy, that was like some military training. Every section had a section leader, and we would run drills in each section, starting from the slow tempo all the way up to the 120 and the 125s, right? To get ready for the competition. So if you showed potential, man, that 2007 band was mostly students. I think we were like a 30 piece, and at least 20, 15 to 20 of our members were all students, right? When I'm talking about elementary, elementary, maybe juniors in high school, right? But it just shows, like, the potential and the dedication that they had, man. Yeah. So shout outs to those members.
No, but it's really cool to showcase that. I know you work with kids now, and I know you're involved with the youth, so I can see how you end up at the part where you showcased how musical involvement in your younger days had an impact.
Yeah.
So I like what you did there. It's interesting how people are like that. But I think it's really important, and shout out Sally and the Wilson family for like providing that opportunity, right? Because you could have just gone and found like whoever, look for the best, whatnot. But nah, instead you turned it into a place that taught a lot of people a lot of discipline, and also showed that you're willing to put in the work, there's reward for that. Even just the experience of being able to go to Toronto is big. Like the first time I went to Toronto, I was like 27 or some shit. Like I was old.
Mhm.
That's
I feel
huge,
you.
man. Like it's cool.
Yeah, yeah. I went like my friends they started going before me, right? They were in the senior group from elementary. They joined Salah's band from they were like 12. But I remember going maybe 2004, 2004, 2005, and then I took a break in '06. Um yeah, I took a break in '06, and I think I kind of remembering why. But anyways, when I went back in '07, like I was just on fire. um, but yeah, in '04, '05, like we were always losing. We were getting robbed, kind of thing, because there was a love hate. It was a love hate situation, man. Salah loved the music so much that every year he wanted to participate in the Pana Live, right? That's the night before Caravana in Toronto, and then in the Caravana parade itself, like he wanted to participate, showcase his music and whatnot, because he arranges music different than 99% of the other arrangers, right? Like I'll say 99% because there's a talk like when you're in the pan yard or when you're in our pan yard and you're listening to other bands or you're listening to other music, there's a point where you'll hear something that we call cliche, right? They're just running instead of playing scales, right? Salo would teach us scales, right? The whole scale. We'll play a whole scale in a song or add crescendos and whatnot. Certain bands, they know the key the song is in, but their way of running a scale is just going between like three notes. So you hear a lot of like so we call that's cliche, you know, where when you listen to our pieces, you'll hear a full scale and other things, right? You'll hear harmonies and melodies, you'll hear music basically. So up until 2007, um, the organization down there, I won't name them, but basically there was a lot of judges being asked to judge on a friend to friend basis, right? Like
Mm.
it's like I know who you are. Okay, you like hip hop. I'm doing something, bro. Like, yo, come judge this competition for me. I'm gonna pay you this, whatever the case is. You don't have to have any actual music knowledge. I just know you like music, right? I know you like hip hop, or I know you're an artist. So I'm just gonna pick you. I'm gonna pick Willie. And I'm gonna pick a bunch of guys. Well, you guys actually listen, so not the best examples, but basically just calling on any and anybody to
The
do the
point
thing,
was
right?
made.
They're known, right? So it was a lot of that. But in 2007, they actually hired some judges with a musical background. So they started listening to our pieces. So, when you heard the Want You Back, yeah, it's a Jackson 5 song, but you hear our arrangement and whatnot. You hear the scale at the beginning. Like we played the full scale into the intro of the song, right? Where somebody else, the other bands might play a so you hear the different. Anyways, so
Yo,
these judges now.
that's like yo. You say it like it's not really significant. I listen for that shit when I pick beats.
Exactly, I
Yo,
do too.
so like I was listening to this beat from like Vince Price, and I realized he took this like take on hand clapping, and he almost like shifted it a bit, so like it's not a natural sound, but it sounds a little more wiggly, but it's basically still giving you the effect. And I'm like, yo, nobody did that. That's
Right.
dope. It's kind of like that shit, So I
Yeah.
really appreciate it, cause yo, I watch these ads, man, on YouTube where it's like, bro, We're going to test this plugin right now, and we're going to see if in 2 clicks it gives you the pristine sound. Click, click. Bro, that's crispy, bro. And you're like,
Right?
nah, it can't be that. That means
Nah,
everybody's doing that. That's not crispy, bro.
exactly. Like, nah. Where's the creativity? Where's the everyone sounds the same?
I mean,
So there's a lot of that. A lot of the bands out there sound the same. And for the longest while, the only reason we got hurt in points was because of the size of our band. They would go out there with their 50, 70 piece bands, right? We're coming down from Montreal with a 20 piece. Like 2007, we actually had like a 30 piece or whatever it was, but every section was just playing so strong that there was no way you can deny us. You couldn't deny the music that you heard. But the people in the audience, oh, they're from Montreal, Quebec. What is that? The French province? Oh, they're playing French. That's what they said when we won. They're playing French music, you know. But
what?
then the next year we came and bam, we slapped them again. And, we won by like 18 points and we put like the top three bands down there in a three-way tie for second place. Like, you know,
Uh,
once again, the music spoke for itself, man.
Yo, but that's nifty. The level and degree of excellence, right? Um, I don't know, man. It's like you put some time into learning the actual foundational elements of music. Like you drop some big terms like crescendos and then whatever. Like, you knew what they meant. In your mind, it's like you're
Yeah.
picturing the effect. And there's gotta be people out there that are like, music talk. And I respect that. I understood crescendo, but the other one, I can't remember it because I don't understand it as well. And that's just how it is. But like you got that layer down, but you also put that time and effort in, and so you're clocking it down. But also how to arrange music and compositionally to take something that already even exists and do something special with it. In a sense, you're already learning about remixes and a lot of other things that are just truly fascinating skill sets to acquire, especially in this era at that point in time. So that's super
Yeah.
blessed, man.
Yeah, man. Cause yeah. So I'm only talking about the steel pan right now, but like that was for me. I would say that's the biggest influence. That's the biggest help with my music. Back in I would say so 2005. Like I remember being in leadership, right? So I'll go back to DJing and stuff like that for a minute, right?
Go for it.
Um, Back in high school, once again, my mom would always want to make sure like my head is on straight and diversify the things that I'm doing. So she would sign me up for leadership. Shout out to Rosita Roach. We call her Kathy Roach, Rowan Higgins. Um, like these are women, powerful black leaders in our community that really had like an influence on my life, my upbringing. So I would be in their leadership program, and apart from all the great knowledge they instilled in us, we would have like movie nights and other things like that. They would allow us to play, to DJ and things like that. By then, virtual DJ was out, you know. So that's really where I was, DJing and stuff. Um, I had my computer, and yeah, I loaded it up with like a lot of reggae and whatnot. I was DJing like before these consoles came out or whatever. I was using my keyboard. As I said, my uncle never allowed me to use the turntables and whatnot, so I had to find a other way to learn, right?
So you used the
So,
keyboard DJ. Hold on, let's talk
bro,
about that. I want to know. Tell me about being the keyboard DJ. Let's break that down. How does that work?
bro, I'm talking about the keyboard that you use for your computer,
I'll
right?
picture it. I got one right over here,
If you
everyone.
go on virtual DJ, there you go. Everything you could do on a console is mapped out on the keys, right?
Okay.
So you have your play, your stop, you have your abilities to set cues. So I learned how to set cues on my keyboard before I touched a console,
All right. So what is
right?
setting
A
cues?
controller.
Let's break it down for the people.
So, all right. So, back in the vinyl days, you wouldn't really be able to set cues, right? You have to listen to the track for a bit. Okay, this is where I want to start. So you basically would hold up. I'm gonna
Get it.
pull up a
Yo,
console
I
real quick.
love it. We getting props.
So,
Woo!
so the track would be spinning, whatever the case is. All right, you're listening in your headphones. The beat is about to start here. All right, I think I want to catch it here and come in. On the other side, another track is playing, right? You basically know how DJs mix, right? So I don't have to explain
No, that
everything.
part that we're
But
good. And if you don't know that,
so
you can easily Google.
So yeah, so with the vinyl, right, you have to manually cue. This is me manually cueing where I want the thing to start. So I hear the chorus is coming back on the other song. Boom, I let go. All right, now I gotta kind of like match my BPM. I'll speed it up a bit if I have to, or I'll slow it down a bit. You know. All right, beats match.
Hold up.
Then I'll
I
move
didn't
my.
realize that like that is yeah, you froze. You still with us?
I'm here.
All right.
My camera probably just froze for a second.
That's
Hold
all
up.
right. I guess I didn't realize that on the fly you're changing the BPMs of the song to make them match. That is not something I really thought about. I thought like maybe because I'm just not a good DJ and I'm more of like whatever that you would like pit songs at the similar BPMs. But I guess you're actually altering that in real time to make it all flow right. That's nifty as fuck. I never thought about it before for real.
Yeah, like hold on, let me get this camera good.
No worries. I'm just
This
like
zoom thing.
I'm just fascinated by it, processing. I feel like in a year or five, I'll know a whole lot about a lot of things like this in a very technical way. But I love the fact that it froze with you holding this shit, right? So we still got this visual prop here that is dope, because
That's what's up, man.
nobody like pulls the fucking thing up and goes, so yo, check it. This is what it's like, and then we speed it up like this, and we slow it down like that. Like that's actually really cool, and there's people out there that really appreciate that kind of stuff because yo, again, it's like people have a lot of trouble understanding how basic we all really need to go when we become kind of good at stuff. We forget that like the baseline of what like the regular person knows. I'm gonna say regular, I mean within a particular specialty, right? Like not just people special or
Right.
whatever, right? So the regular person, they don't like look at what you do and catch any of the foundational shit. They just see you go puka 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 puka, and then everything else is magic, you know? Like you know how to
Exactly.
scratch cuz you can literally do that at home with a scratch, you know? Like everything else I'm like okay, like what is the DJ doing? Like I'm literally watching this man spin while I'm freestyling on Fridays and shit, and he's flicking knobs, and it looks like he's literally fucking with the mix at every level
Right.
live because he got. And I'm like, nah, I don't know what he's doing. I know he's doing things, and I know the sound is sounding, but I don't know what he's really doing. So nah, it's like it's so not like it's not like it's not like inherent in me. Like this is just not my shits. See, I don't know what's up with the camera at this point. Tu viens au retour après les problèmes avec la zoom. Alright,
Check one. I'm
we
back.
are back. Alright, Chris, plug in on me rapping in French. That's where you could lift all that shit out in the middle, Chris. That's what's up. Thank you, Chris. You're amazing. Um, alright, I don't even remember a little bit where we were at. You were still in high school. You was crushing shit. Politics. Life is blessed. Musical composition. Pick better beats. Listen to Jahmal's advice by using mad music theory knowledge. Go learn your music theory on YouTube for free. Because it's that easy, everyone. Just throwing it out there. That was me. That was my 2 cents at the end. And then, 12 Tone. 12 Tone makes music theory fun and he tricks you into learning stuff. That's a channel y'all can fuck with. 12 Tone. Anyway. So what happens then in the later parts of high? Oh right, we were going back to your DJing. That's where we were at. Then you were talking
Yeah,
about
I had
queuing,
this.
we auto queued, and then you were describing the speed up, the speed down, and all right, back to DJ land. All right, my brain caught up. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I was talking about learning about cues, and my bad on the whole freeze up.
Now we good.
Ask Merker, it's something every time Hussein goes to the studio, it's like system crashes, you know.
It's
So
that
bear
man.
with us.
I'm
It
not
might
as
happen
marker.
again. But yeah, so yeah, I was just talking about how you know, I was watching these guys in leadership, my friends in leadership, basically start out DJing. Yeah, and a lot of the guys, actually, that sound crew is known as Nemesis Sounds today. You know, a
Yo,
lot of them are still
respect.
part of Nemesis Sounds. Shout outs to DJ Kid, A10, etc., etc. But yeah, so I had the privilege of watching them um, start out with virtual DJ, watch them DJ our jams, on the computer and whatnot. And I said, yo, that's dope. Like, I want to do the same thing, kind of thing. So I downloaded the program, and I was just there mixing reggae songs, some of my favorite songs on virtual DJ, using the keyboard. So I learned how to cue,
And
uh,
Q is where you tell the keyboard when I push this button, drop the track at this part.
so yeah, like you set your cues. So when I held up the turntable, right, I was showing how I had my hand held at this is where the beat's gonna drop. This is where I want to cue the song. This is where I want to start playing this record from, right? So that's your cue. That's your start point of a certain record, right? Um, so yeah, I learned how to do that using the keyboard, and from there, I was able to do other things like figure out how to play the cue, right? So you can set it, then you got to know which key allows you to play it, right? So on the console, like you have a button you can press, right? And you can, just run the cue. That'll be your start point, right? So on the keyboard, it's kind of the same thing. So I figured out which keys allow me to do that. Um, so yeah, and then the last thing to figure out is just how to mix the songs, right? The crossfader, right? Got to figure out how to go from one record to the next. So once I figured those out, it's pretty simple after that. So I kind of mastered that technique, just by watching them guys play at our jams, at our parties, right? We call them jams back in the early 2000s. Um,
I seen some
yeah.
video footage of a couple of NDG jams. I remember distinctly one time in high school. We're talking like 2003, 2004. Substitute teacher, whatever, whatever. I don't know how it is, but like when they roll in the fucking VCR shit, on somebody
Yeah,
played
bro.
video footage of a NDG jam somewhere like Walkley or whatever, and I was like, okay, I'm a teenage boy, my guy. I didn't know. I didn't know it got down like that. I didn't know. It was delightful. It did not last
Oh.
very long. I can tell you that much. Nobody let that shit play very quick. I never
Nope.
forgot it for the rest of my life. I was not invited to that shit.
I feel you, man. Yo, jams or something else. Yeah, I got introduced to that in high school as well. Like, first jams that I would be a part of was high school, and it's just like, all right, it's like a mini dance hall, right? You see grinding up on the walls and whatnot.
Yep.
You know, the
And
break dancers hold down the middle.
man, it's baffling to me. I like, yo,
Yeah,
you gotta understand, like, I'm just a kid. Never been to a party like that one time. The best you get is what you see in movies and shit. And that shit is like, it was wild. And they're all like teenagers, I think, or young people. Like, I don't think it was like adults. And so I think that was the bigger issue, is like, yo, we can't be having this shit being played in the school or whatever. It was pretty fucking wild. I like that. Like, I
bro.
like the Kewego is interesting, right? Because if you like look like me, you learn a lot of things that you might not learn at other high schools. Because it was mad multicultural, like what a jam is, etc. But let's go back
It's
to you.
interesting. Yes,
Um,
sir.
so you're DJing throughout high school, and you're doing your steel pans throughout high school. Are you interested in
Hmm.
rapping throughout high school?
Yeah, so that all like stemmed from leadership. So as I said, we'd have the jams, but we'd also have the movie nights. And I was always like rhyming before, just writing little rhymes back then. I told you I wrote, a few verses, reggae songs, whatnot. Um, but there was one time where we watched Hustle and Flow, right? I
Ooh.
actually just watched it. Yeah. I went back and watched it the other day just to, be inspired or see if I had that same feeling that I got back in like '05, '06 when I watched it for the first time. Um, that movie just I don't know what it was, but that movie just sparked something in me, man. And definitely that song, Hard Out There for a Pimp, that beat was banging. Shout outs to 3 6. That beat was banging. And it had it definitely was one of the major sounds that I like to listen to in the early 2000s, like
Listen,
that that southern sound, right?
I listen to that song to this very day. I argue that that is one of the best 50 songs I've ever heard in my life. Just
I
that,
agree, man. Yeah,
just from the beginning. You know it's hot out here for a bit.
yeah, bro.
I don't care what anyone says. That shit's a
Yeah,
banger. I know what the content is. It doesn't make it sound less amazing.
yeah. But it was that, man. That movie, yeah, that movie inspired me to kind of go further, man. Because you know, if you those of you who watched the movie, you guys know, like, he started out with little to nothing. I got this little fancy looking mic, but it's really nothing in a sense. Um, I That year I bought myself a pretty decent Audio Technica microphone. It was about $100 and something dollars. Um, I was working probably at my dad's restaurant at that time, so I was able to save up some money. Um, and yeah, I bought myself a microphone, and I used to hang that shit with duct tape on my ceiling just to have the microphone hang down, right? Just to have
Mm.
that hanging effect before I bought myself a mic stand. But that's kind of how I started out. This is like '05, and in high school, like early high school, yeah, I was writing a lot of remixes, right? Um, when Tipsy came out, like I used to yeah, I wrote like my own remix to Tipsy. I wrote a verse, and my best friend, he goes by Mr. Pong now, so he's the one that continued on with the Steel Pan, um on like a more professional level outside of the academy. But we were like a group back then. It was like 3 4 of us. I kind of was taking the rap more seriously, but I always felt like my boy, he went by Matrix at the time, but Mr. Pong, that's his Steel Pan artist name right now. He was always like the better writer. I always felt he was the better writer. So it's kind of like a G Unit kind of thing, because G Unit was a heavy influence at that time also. Um, once once Get Richer Die Trying came out, like, for me, I listened to that heavy. My uncle was a big fan of that album. I
Yo,
think his favorite song was like Heat.
it's a good album.
Yeah, yeah, um but prior to high school, like, I had no idea like who 50 was and whatnot. I remember my cousin coming over to my house to, make me a CD, right? Make a mix CD. Back then we had to download our music, LimeWire and all of that stuff, that era, right? So she like came over and introduced me to those programs. And that's how I started downloading like different music, listening to I would look for the remixes. So I remember I was the first one actually to play the Usher and Ludacris You Don't Have to Call remix. I took a trip to Toronto with the Steel Pan Band. This was grade 6, and yeah, this is when I made my like first mixtape or audio CD or whatever, right? Because I wasn't really mixing when I was 12, but I was putting songs on a CD and whatnot. So yeah, I was like the first one to find that remix amongst my boys, and I kind of introduced that to them. Like we were on the bus jamming to that CD. Uh, yeah, that Ludaverse was heavy. So when I went in high school, it was just like I was listening to the different cadences that I liked, like the different artists. Um, you know, for me, I I liked Ja Rule, Murder Inc. at that time, right? Early 2000s. I was watching, Much Music and all of that. So there was a lot of Ja Rule on there. So, I was a fan in the beginning, but then like 50's whole approach, like it just caught me off guard and it was entertaining, right? Like I like that whole bully style or whatnot. It made me laugh or whatnot, right? So I gravitated more towards 50, and yeah, and I enjoyed the album whatnot. And then when Beg for Mercy came out, popping them things, like that was my favorite song. Like that beat was just banging for me. So in high school, like spent my time doing like a lot of remixes prior to that album coming out, right? Beg for Mercy was
Yo,
what,
it's
04, 05?
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. But yeah, when Beg for Mercy came out, it was also around the time where I was able to finally like write my first song for school purposes. So in music class was like Sec 3, prior to being able to write our own song. Like all we were doing was playing the acoustic guitar, playing those little songs in the book. And for me, it's like, yo, this is not music class. Like I didn't sign up for this. I learned more in steel pen than I do here, right? I thought music class was actually music class, right?
Mm.
But no, we make sure you bring your pick next week, guys. All right. I don't bring my pick to class because I don't want to play no, the spider went in my oatmeal kind of songs. Like, nah, like I don't have time for that. Um, so I completely just ignored the class in a sense to the point where it was like I was on the verge of failing music class, right? And it just didn't make sense. Somebody who's just so fond of steel pan. I know actual music. Like, why am I failing music class, right? All because I don't bring a pick to class to play the guitar, right? But finally, she allowed us to make our own song, like come up, form a group and make a song. So it was me, Mr. Pong. So back then, I went by the name Lil Sane. I think that's when, yeah, I came out with the name Lil Sane. As I said before, I was influenced by the Lil Bow Wows, the Lil Waynes, the Lil Zanes, right, from elementary. So I kind of knew, you know, I wanted to be a Lil. My first email was Lil Baby Boy 2K2, like.
Hey.
So yeah, that was my first Hotmail. So I went by the name Lil Sane back then in high school. Um, and yeah, so I formed a group, me, Matrix or Mr. Pong, and this white dude who plays the guitar. He knows nothing about rap, but he has a guitar at home, and he felt like he could contribute some guitar tabs. It's like, all right, cool. He he's the first he's the first person like I seen with like recording software, right? So I went to his house to do the project, but I took that song, popping them things, like I found that instrumental, and we kind of kept the same cadence, the same flow, and I just went for it. Just changed it to like every day in high school. All the girls be around on my whole crew. Like, what? We hold them down like we supposed to. But they could front if they want, but they know they're gonna be in my shawty. Like, it's making songs for girls like from back then kind of thing.
It's a smart move.
And
That's what. That's the. Yo, what did Don Smooth tell me? Watch the women. What's Jamal
watch the
telling? Go for
women,
the women. That's
right?
just what it is. Yo, I didn't even know that. So literally, now that's the new moves. That's all I care about. I'm like, that's the smart people move. So I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, man. So That's when I got to make my first official like remix kind of thing, like actually record it. Um, and yeah, like that was like my favorite project in high school, right? Like I got to write my own song kind of thing. So then when I saw Hustle and Flow, it was just like, okay, like I'm gonna get myself a mic. It was like a year or two after that. I'm gonna get myself
Yo,
a microphone.
like, yo, no, for real though. Just to add to the hustle and flow thing, cause I had a like, yo, I'm not like, I'm a couple years older, like 2, 3 max. So like, I
Yeah,
remember watching Hustle and Flow when I'm like 18 or 19, and I'm like, yo, cause he like gets this low end gear, and then they're in the room and they make that like whoop that trick track, like they make that song in the
yeah,
room. You watch them. Do, 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 do. Okay, yo,
yeah.
that's hype. Loop that, and like, oh, I'd never seen that process happen. And then he just
Me
comes in
neither.
and drops this one take, and you're like, I guess that's what it is. And I wonder if that's why we all want a one take, is because Terrence
We
Howard.
want a one take.
But
Yeah,
yo,
bro. Terrence Howard, I think he inspired a lot of us. You know what I mean? He inspired a lot of, at least to, get our own shit.
nah, but
I
like
would say that,
all
you
of it
know?
though, just seeing it, it's like yo, you could have
Yeah,
that.
man.
Like I could do that because it didn't look impossible. It didn't look like professionals. It looked like, and then like life moves on, and the next thing you know, you are in a room one day like that, and then the next thing you know, you're on Twitch having conversations and shit, and life's fascinating.
Right?
But
Yeah,
that's
man.
mad nifty. Anyway, so yeah, hustle and flow inspires you to get yourself in like a position to roll.
Yeah. So, I got myself a microphone. Um, yeah, I hung that shit up on the ceiling, man. I let that thing hang. And yeah, like 0506, I was kind of just having fun. I had some shit on YouTube. I made like a high times series kind of thing. Um,
What is a high
but I was
time
just
series?
taking, I would just get high and I would put on an instrumental, and that's when I like freestyled and just did ridiculous
But
shit. You
when
know what I mean? It was
you're at
it
the
was more
beginning,
comedic.
you were in the beginning of YouTube making freestyle high videos.
Yeah, man.
That's not the
Yeah,
average.
man.
That's actually really fucking cool. Yo, before we
Yeah.
go,
Cool.
somebody I it kept asked, do you know Stand High Patrol?
Stand High Patrol
Yeah,
doesn't ring a bell right now.
fair enough. They appear to be a music group, so I just wanted to ask because I
Okay.
said I would. Um, but yo, I just think it's fucking cool, man. I just think like
Yeah.
everything that you've been doing is like we're pretty deep in, and we're what, like 17? Not even.
Not even. That was still like 15, man. That was like 2005, 2006. So I was like, I'm born in July, so I was like going on 15, or 15 going on 16 when I was doing that. And but like shout outs to at the time I wasn't part of the group, but shout outs to Black Gloves. There was a group from St. Luke that was kind of doing their thing at the same time. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with the artist Tagins, right?
So
Tagins
here's how
is
I know what Tagins is. You know how I know what
Mhm.
Tagins is? Well, let me pull up my fucking Firefox on this track called Touchdown on 2020 Vision by Jahmal Whosane.
Yeah,
It features a guy named Tagins who otherwise I've not actually heard of before. But
yeah. So Tagins was part of the group Black Gloves, and I don't know what year they started out, but around 05, 06, that's when I caught wind of them, like 05. So I had some cousins that went to St. Luke, and they were big fans of their music, sharing their MySpace and all of that stuff. Um, so yeah, I created my MySpace after that. Um, but there would be a few songs that I enjoyed from them. So yeah, I remixed their own remixes kind of thing too,
hold
for
up.
certain songs
You
that I
you
liked.
remixed local music back in the day.
Yeah.
Yo, we should just do that. Just like I'm saying in 2021. Like I should just
Yeah.
take red pill, blue pill, and make the Holden version. I don't know how
Shit,
consenting that
bro.
is. Maybe that's a dope idea. Maybe it's not. Maybe everybody should ask for permission before doing some shit like that, and I shouldn't encourage theft. That's not the point. The point is, fucking support local music was what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Shut up, Bashman Boo, for popping in and saying what's up.
Yeah. Shout out to Bashman Boot.
Um,
Long time supporter of Black Temple. That's for sure.
yeah, I like Bashman Boo. He's a fun guy.
Yeah, man. Family things.
No, that's dope. So you were remixing the other black something groups. I'm being
Yeah,
terrible.
Black Gloves.
Black gloves. It's my bad. With Tagans.
Yeah. So I was paying attention to what they were doing. They were doing a lot of songs. They started out with the grainy camera footage and shooting their own music videos and whatnot. So I always admired them for that, right? Um, and yeah, and that's still before I really like paid attention to what's going on. Like obviously, like Preach sent me music throughout high school, or I'd see Preach music videos. Like Voice of the Streets came out like 2003. Um, so yeah, I remember Preach sending me some records, and yeah, even then I remember I wanted to remix his Walkley
Yo,
record.
that shit. I'm from
That is
Walkley. Certified. Woo,
yo exactly.
woo. To this
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
it slap. It is.
Trust me.
Oh. Anyway, I just.
Yeah, trust me.
Yo,
So
I'm
yeah, I
3 blocks
believe
away from Walkley, dude. To this day, it's like every time I hear it, it's joy.
yeah. When I was in DG, man, I grew up on Walkley for a minute, and then my mom kind of moved me out the hood, moved me out certain areas. Um, we moved to St. Henry afterwards, and we're there for a while. But yeah, shout outs to Black Gloves, DG native, and I was watching them do their thing, shooting their music videos, doing everything like themselves. I came to learn that Ski was recording, Elon Ski. He was recording the music, in his apartment, you know. Um, so yeah, when I got my
I
microphone, like I was doing the same thing.
I know Elonsky. That guy's on my Facebook somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
So it was Elon, it was Tagans, it was TJB. Like at the time, there were like 6 members. Then it ended up being 7, and yeah, by the time I joined, it was 8. But before I joined, I still was doing my thing, and yeah, as I said, I remixed like some of their songs that I enjoyed. I asked them for like some footage or whatever. Just send me a little video clip of you or whatever. I took that. I took their song. I kept, maybe there's probably like 6 guys on one record, right? So every guy has like a half a verse. So it's like, okay, I took this guy's 8 bars, then I did a little 8 bar here. Then I took a next guy's 8 bar, and then it's like, all right, I went on the next one, It's for like each verse kind of thing. So yeah, I put that also on YouTube. Like that was one of my favorite records or whatever. And then so I have my own equipment. I'm doing my thing. I started out in the living room doing my thing, and then my mom's just like, yo, she let me move the computer up into my room. And then it was over. Like it was a wrap. I painted I painted my room red. I got myself some blue lights, and like the Martian was like created. The Martian was born in a sense.
Let's talk about
Um,
that. What is the Martian? What does that mean? I mean, I know that to
so
you that's everything, but what is the Martian?
yeah, like the original Martian, I just wanted to be different. Um, I always felt like I rapped different. People back then, especially when I became more known to the public, more so in like 2008. Well, yeah, 2008, 2009, and then by the time I dropped Life's Better in 3D, like 2010, people would say, "Oh, like he raps different, he's offbeat or something like that," right? So I was just like, well, I'm a Martian. Like, I'm different. I got a different flow. And for me, it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm from Mars. Like, I'm not from this world. I kind of want to go back to like an original thinking, right? So for me, my name at the time was Lil Sane, right? So I dropped a few records. I did my first show 2008 street it was Street Vibes. Uh Preach put that on with Head and Hands and some other groups. So I did
Respect.
my first show as Lil Sane, right? So I had that sane element, right? Sanity, right? Always, and I came from a reggae conscious background. So there's all no matter at the end of the day, like there's always got to be some kind of sanity, some kind of message to my music. So by the time 2008 came around, I was in transition. Um, yeah, I was transitioning into a whole different area of my life, also religion wise too. I started learning more about like Islam. I didn't realize like Salah and family, they were Muslims, right? From Trinidad. They were Christians converted into Islam. So I was gaining a bit of knowledge from them on that. And I was like, okay, certain things seem interested and I gravitated towards that, right? Um, so that kind of played a part in my name change to Hussein. But instead of spelling it like Arabs do, I kept the same element and I just added the WHO, right? And if you see on my other records whatnot, you'll see the Hussein at Talib, right? So the at Talib was kind of like my Islamic name that I chose, Jamal at Talib. At Talib being the seeker of truth, right? Because I felt as though ever since I was like 10 and I was scared, I was scarred in church, right? Like I've always been looking for the truth, right? In a sense. So I made that my name. So by the time I came out as Hussein, right? It's, who's sane? I used to spell it or write it out as like a question, who's sane, right? So I'm gonna like showcase myself. I'm gonna showcase art in a different way. It might be different to you, but it's the way I feel. It's original to me. I've always done like original music apart from the remixes I've done. Um, yeah, Ski actually sent Elon Ski. He sent me a folder of like beats, right, and they were all like original beats. So I used whichever beats I liked from that folder, and that's how I like created my first mixtape for 2010. I dropped the name Hussein, and yeah, for me it was basically Mars represents. It stands for My Art Reflects Sane. So after my following album or project, I named it My Art Reflects Sane Mars, right? So when I'm saying I'm from Mars, like I'm showcasing me, I'm showcasing my talent, my perspective or my ideas, the way I live or whatever messages I gotta say, whatever downloads is coming to me, like this is me, this is my art, you know. If you don't enjoy it, that's okay. It doesn't have to be for you, but it's a reflection of me. It's a reflection of Sane. They used to call me Sane, like for short. Um, yeah. So yeah, man. That's basically who the Martian was, and just having the conscious background from the reggae growing up, I didn't feel as though there was too much consciousness in like the mainstream. So if there's anything that I was doing that sounded a bit mainstream, I wanted it to have a different message to it or an actual message to it as opposed to just have fun or whatever narrative was needed to be pushed at certain times.
That's fair enough. I mean, I appreciate that. I like the fact that you put that level of effort into your branding. Like, I don't think people know how hard it is to like create a character like that, to create this whole
Yeah.
universe that you're a part of, that you can commit to. And when I listened to your flow, I did notice it was different. I don't know how else to describe it.
Hmm.
It wasn't off. It
Yeah,
was different. And at
yeah.
first time you
I
hear it, you're like, yo, that stands out.
So for me, I called it the steel pan flow. Like forget what anyone's saying. Like I've played like crazy runs in steel pans. Where I'm playing like 16 notes, 30-second notes, and there's even times where it's like 64s. But it's like if I know I can make it fit within time. It might sound off time, but I know how to construct it or whatnot.
I know.
There could be records where I didn't take the time to really perfect it, so it might sound off, but I know that the steel pan flow, as I call it, like it's all within time because timing was the first thing I had to master in steel pan, right? I played the bass and I'm keeping the time.
Nah, I
So,
totally hear what you're
yeah.
saying. Because to me, it wasn't like it was off. I never felt that,
Mm,
but it felt like different. Like you kind
yeah.
of like you do what you want with it, and I feel like that's more the element of it. Like your shit lands
Hmm.
where it needs to. But I guess now that you say it, yeah, you almost take like a more flexible approach to the first part of like your bar, let's say, and then kind of get
Hmm.
loosey with it. I like that. That's
Yeah.
and I hear what you're saying though, because like music is math fundamentally. So if the equation lands, the equation lands. But maybe not everybody is accustomed to all the different equations that exist to make everything land up right. Like most music is in four by
Hmm.
four timing, and that's just like one part. Like there's other time signatures. There's all sorts of other things that happen with it. So I fuss with what you're saying, and I like the fact that you can describe it like that because it helps. I think it helps people look at flow in a different way, maybe,
Hmm.
and look at it that like, yo, just because maybe you don't understand the flow, doesn't mean it's not derived from some specific musical thing that maybe you're just not privy to, which I liked. That's dope too.
Yeah, man. Respect. So, it was that element, that steel pan element, that really, set me apart or made me different from, a lot of the other artists. And yeah, so by then, like um obviously by then, by being part of Black Gloves, I got introduced more to the Montreal scene and whatnot. Um I do remember this group from DG, apart from Preach. Well, Preach was on their album, but like DPC, or he had a song with a kappa from DPC, right? So they were called the Pimp Class. So yeah, I remember them back in like 05, 06 also. Could have been later, but I remember them also like being the Montreal influence. Shout outs to Lab Noise, they were the only ones that I seen at the time making videos. Um, that's full course.
Yo, it's funny you brought them
Another
up
Montreal artist, right?
because Lab Noise did that like freestyle series thing where they showcased.
Exactly.
I was planning on running through those motherfuckers on a stream in the near future, so it's funny you brought them up like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, step your bar game up. Yeah, we actually had a episode. Black Gloves has an episode.
Yeah, it's fresh.
Um, yeah, and like those are all the things like I got introduced as I started hanging around more. By that time, 2010, like I was driving around more. I was in college or finishing up like Dawson. Um, but I was rolling around, DG whatnot, hanging out, like getting accustomed to these guys just making records or seeing their grind, as Don Smooth, dubbed them like the youngest in the city, right? Like called us the youngest in the city. Ski was like the youngest member. Ski was like 14. Everybody was like 16, 17. I was like 18, 19, but then turning 20, right? 19 turning 20. I was like the oldest member by the time I joined, and I was like the eighth member, you know.
Mm.
So by then they already had records on, on the radio. Don Smooth. He was playing their records. One of the biggest one they had was called Coded, right? Um, so it was just fascinating and inspiring. And I shout outs to Tagans. Like Tagans was always the member of the group that I always like watched, and I admired Tagans. Um, he had that deep voice from me. I was like 16, and I was just like, yo, his flow is different, and you know, I get like his bars are also different. He's dropping some gems. Like you really gotta pay attention to what Tegan says, right? Like you heard Touchdown, like that's like one of my favorite records, man. Like you know I don't really do features, but I heard that one and I was just like, yo, I want Tegan's on this. um he was just somebody that I always admired. And yeah, like those guys, they had their records on the radio spinning, right? Like on a regular coded, you know. And I started seeing more of the Montreal scene. Um, Seeing the Pimp Classes video shot by Lab Noise, I got introduced to Widget. Um, you know, Widget was probably like the first one to have a video, like, right? I think that's what he's known for, like one of the first ones to have video out. Then I started um, listening to records from Boy Blue. I ended up meeting Boy Blue, being around the same venues as Boy Blue, Full Course, like all these other Montreal artists, right? I even like apart from the underground scene or the community scene that like Preach kind of introduced me to, that I knew was around, right? Like I would do Street Vibes maybe once or twice after that, but I didn't know there was like a Montreal scene that was kind of more mainstream or kind of doing their own things that kind of seemed more mainstream, right? um yeah. And then there was just other videographers such as like Justin Augustus,
Mm,
shooting
I
videos,
know
right?
that. Okay, that's a name I recognize because I used to watch
Yeah.
those videos. Like, that was like anyway. We can go on. That's dope.
Yes, so he was shooting some heavy videos, right? um so it's just great to be a part of that. Like I don't think I would have really been a part of it had I not joined Black Gloves. I went to Street Sounds, right? Don Smooth's radio station, and like that's when I dropped my first like on air freestyle or whatnot, right? you know um and I enjoyed that shit. Like that, like Don Smooth and other radio hosts made us feel like we were like stars, in our own city, man. you know
Yeah,
he
that's a
he
big
always
one.
support. You always support.
Yeah, just to add to
you
what you're
know
saying, because what I like to do sometimes is like, especially because you're talking about a time at a city where, weirdly enough, not a lot of people really talk about. I mean, you might like think it like comes up, but like people gloss through this. Maybe everybody was drinking or something, and that's why they don't have the most clear memories, or maybe you weren't. I don't really know, but like I'm listening to people as they just paint this era because it's so fascinating, and just all these people. Like I only start coming into the game in like 2012, so everything prior to that is a mystery to me, and I'm just unraveling it through everybody else's stories. But one of the big things that you said in there, and it's just interesting because like I was talking to a person today and they were telling me how they wanted to like focus on themselves to find out who their identity is, etc., etc. To which I'm like, respect, man. I totally understand what you're talking about. But then you have to just keep in mind that it's through like collaborations that you're really gonna meet people. And I didn't really make that
Sir.
that smart choice to collaborate very
Mhm.
early in my life. I only started engaging in that when I'm older. But listening to what you said, the key thing was if it wasn't for Black Glove, I don't think I would have, etc. Met all these people, but have like, yo, to like be around Boy Blue during that era, to see all these things happen, like that came by virtue of working with people and being part of this collective and this movement. And that is a
That's it.
fascinating and powerful knowledge nugget that I think a lot of us really need to have drilled into our heads. And I include myself in that. It's an adjustment to play nice with others.
hmm Yeah. Because I mean, I could have been a part of it from early, right? You know, but at the same time, I had that stance where it's like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna, develop my own sound or whatever. And it's great that I did that because I was able to stand up as, like a standalone artist in a sense. Um, we did, I have a few records with them or whatnot, but from time I got like the inspiration to go, I was just like on it, from that folder Ski sent me. There was one song, the first record I did on the Lights Better in 3D mixtape was Superfly. So I wrote that verse, right? And I think that's the same verse that I did on the radio at Don Smooth, right? That's the same one. That's where I'm going in like four languages, like I'm introducing the Martian at that point, and yeah, I wrote that record, like that first verse, and I was just so excited, man. I was just like, yo, all right, I'm gonna do a mixtape. And at that point, that was like April. I remembered the date, like April 4th, 2010, because that's what I titled the song, right? I didn't have a name for it. I just knew the date. It's just April 4th. So this was April 4th. Um, but yeah, so I wrote that record, and from there it was just like, yo, I'm doing a mixtape. And then by that time, I believe like, yeah, April 13th or something like that, Cushion Orange Juice dropped, from Wiz Khalifa, right? Um, yeah, so being a part of Black Gloves, um, I was able to open for Wiz Khalifa when he came, right? And I believe it was September of 2010. Um, so yeah, I just learned about these new artists or whatnot. But Wiz Khalifa hanged around one of my favorite artists, Currency, right? There was a
Mm.
point where like I wasn't listening to a lot of music before that, but then I seen Wiz and I seen Currency, and I was just like, yo, Spitta, like, So I started checking back on Spitta's music, and then I think Pilot Talk dropped like June. So after Cushion Orange Juice, it was Pilot Talk. So those two were like big influence for that project in a sense. Like I'm a heavy weed advocate, right? Like, I smoke a lot of Kush whatnot since back then. So I knew like I'm just gonna be myself and do my thing and drop certain records. I'm gonna have a weed song here. I'm gonna have a nice club feely record maybe. I might have that kind of vibe, but I'm always gonna be myself and drop that Martian element, that message or whatever I feel needs to be dropped. Um, I just feel like Life's Better in 3D is different. It felt like an album to me. Every time I listen back to it, obviously I'm like, okay, yeah, this could be better or whatnot. But if I just take it for what it was at the time, like, for me, it's like, yo, that's my classic piece right there.
But I just love how like just just all of this, right? Like your whole like it's just so organic, right? Like you're with people you could have been in, but you took time to establish your identity, which the more I think about is really smart. Because you do able then you're able to roll. So you figure out your core brand, but you still play nice with others because you
Yeah.
have to do that in order to meet people. And then you're going out there, you open up for Wiz Khalifa while he's promoting an album I know Chris Chrome fucking loves. I don't know. I feel like Wiz Khalifa came in just as I was a little bit too old to care about what he was doing at that point.
Mhm.
But in hindsight, Wiz Khalifa's fucking wonderful. Um, so that's going on. You're out there creating your music. Are you still DJing at this point? Are you still interested in that?
Oh, I mean, like I never had I never got myself a controller or anything like that, but like I've always been interested. I know it's there, right? It's something that I know it's there, or I knew it was there, so I didn't have to really, say, okay, like I want to be a DJ and whatnot. Like Preach will tell you, they didn't like want me to be in the clubs or whatnot, right? Like, you know once they basically seen that I was interested in music, like Preach became like the big brother or whatnot. And Preach, you know, he went to Toronto, he did his thing, he came back to the city, and he was working with different like youth groups, community organizations, putting on these shows or whatnot, working with community. So he was more of an artist as opposed to a DJ. So he seen I was interested in being an artist or hearing certain records I'm doing, and he decided that he would guide me in that direction or mentor me in that direction. You
Mm.
know, if ever I wanted to pick up DJing completely, like um I had my uncle, but there was a point where his focus also changed. He stopped DJing. He
Mm.
focused on get that 9 to 5 job, whatnot, excelling in that, um, becoming a Christian and different things, right? So he kind of stepped away from the music because he didn't want to play certain type of music, right?
So yeah,
Um,
we gotta make a pivot here because the story is wonderful, and yo, I love the pace we're at. I don't want to change the pace of the story, but there's a part of your story that's a more nowadays thing that if I don't bring up, Ishmael will kill me on. Let's talk a little bit about Shiatsu. I don't even know how to fucking say that.
yeah, Shiatsu. Yeah, so that's a more recent thing.
That's why I wanted to
Um,
bring it up.
yeah, Shiatsu is a massage technique, right? Developed by like the Japanese using like Chinese medicine, right? So it's a type of massage where we stimulate the acupressure points, right? Your pressure points along like your organ meridians in order to like tonify or sedate certain energies within your body, right? That's something I got into after I got a concussion like 2 years ago. Um, my sleep pattern was all over the place. I had like light sensitivity to the point where I got glasses now and whatnot. Like I got my glasses, whatever. But
I'm
yeah,
with you.
so I got into Shiatsu because I was always interested in like they'll call it the occult or whatnot, but I was always interested in like higher energies, hidden messages, numerology and stuff like that, um from high school. Somebody told me like my life path was a 9, and from then it was just like, okay, like what is a 9? So you research certain things. It was like, okay, cool. You see 1111, make a wish, okay, manifest. All right. So I was always interested in these kind of messages, and having that like Rastafarian like background, I always believed in like natural healing, you know. So I got into Shiatsu after I got a concussion. I was working at the airport, and I got hit with like a water hose, just a metal bearing on the water hose slapped me in my head. I didn't lose consciousness because that could have been a whole different story. There was a whole bunch of water around me. I could have fell and hit my head on the truck, but that's besides the point. Yeah. So I got hit, I got a concussion, and I got some time off of work. And the mother of my children, she was going to a school for natural therapies in NDG, and she was studying like uh naturopath. She was studying to be a naturopath, right? So I was interested in some of the courses she was doing, but as I said, I was interested in like tarot and a whole bunch of stuff. So I looked into different courses I would be interested in for different schools, and I ended up just saying, you know what, like let me just try shiatsu out. Like, it sounds interesting. I don't remember exactly what it was that pulled me to it. Maybe I was just trying to get like a double diploma kind of thing. So I'd have like the massage therapy with um, the naturopath tools. I think I was aiming for that, but I actually ended up starting with the Shiatsu. So, from the first course, from the first class that I did, my sensei felt like I was a natural and, really encouraged me to continue with it. Felt that was very intuitive, um, and yeah, the more I did it, I felt myself connecting with the energy. And at the same time, I was doing different workshops with the late Mary Swain. She passed away last year, but I was doing some workshops with her in order to like unblock my throat chakra, in order to connect deeper with my heart chakra. It's just different things. And I just remember like being introduced to just meditation in that form, right? Like I never really was told to like sit down and, you know, look into your heart, like look direct the energy into your heart or direct the energy into your stomach, your belly area, your root chakra. Like I've never done that before. But there was times where I would be trying to exercise and it's like my eyes are closed and I'm trying to connect, but like I'm somebody, I could be in my head a lot, right? I have a whole bunch of thoughts, so I revert back to these thoughts and it's just like, hey, am I doing this right? And then I'd hear her say like, get out of your head, like she's talking to the class or whatnot, but really like talking to me. I had some, like classmates who's done this before, who, just getting a refresher or who's on like level 2, and she just invited me to the class because she had the space, and she felt my intuition. Um, so yeah, she allowed me to be a part of the course, and I just learned how to really like connect with the different energies of my body, the different senses. Um, I see things that I haven't seen before. Um, and yeah, like I just wanted to kind of like share that with, others as like a healing modality, right? Like my music, I try to always like put a message in my music in certain songs, whatnot. Um, and but with the shiatsu, I literally have a direct impact on someone's health. Like nowadays, I've always been an air, but nowadays it's like I have more of a capacity and I have a better understanding of how to hold space for someone, right? So I can listen without being judgmental, and I can listen and really figure out what is triggering these emotions, or what could be the cause of a certain stagnation in energy, right? Because energy is just supposed to flow, and so when we feel certain pain, right, that's a stagnation in energy. Like where's this coming from? Is this pain coming on the side of their leg, their body, like the IT band? Is it the sciatic nerve? Like where's this pain coming from, right? So and I'm able to say, okay, well, allergy issues, that could be a sign of something wrong with someone's liver, or just different things like that. You know what I mean?
So basically, if you want healing with the smooth, wonderful voice of Jahmal Whosane and all this deep knowledge, you can holler at the man and get your healing on. That's what I'm understanding from all of this.
Basically.
I mean, he
If
didn't
you
want to
need
say
an
it
air,
himself. He
man.
didn't want to land it there, but I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. But yeah, no, that's
Basically.
mad dope, because it's like, on top of the fact is that, you provide a really valuable service. Are you insurable? Do you get like insurance receipt stuff?
Yeah, I'm about to get that. Like I'm a recent graduate. Um so yeah, I'm about to get the insurance receipts. There was just like everything, there's, the more this becomes recognized in the province, right? There's just some more. There's a requirement that we have to meet, right? So they're demanding like more hours. Right now, it's like 600 hours for you to get credited and recognized as like a therapist and be able to give insurance receipts. But prior to COVID, they were trying to increase it to 1,000. So I was spending the last year and a half um, building up to the 1,000 hours for when things open back, so that I could be insured for more than one thing, right? So I have like the shiatsu, but now I also have like the deep tissue, and I'm gonna be resuming my studies in acupressure. So at the end of the year, I'll be adding like acupressure as a modality. But if you get a session from me, you'll see that I basically just cater to the client's need. So it's a little shiatsu.
Yo,
It's
shout
a
out
little
Damon with the Prime subscribe. Wonderful. That
yeah,
have to interrupt for that. I'm sorry. You understand how it is.
big up. Yeah, so it's a little shiatsu, it's a little deep tissue, it's some acupressure. I'm holding some points for as long as I feel I need to release certain energies. Yeah, I just cater to the client's need,
So you
right?
DJ the body.
I DJ the body, bro.
I mean, if
I
you
mix
really
that
think about what
energy.
you just said, it's like, so first you cue up the record and you autoplay it, and then you do like a hand motion, like on a record.
Yep.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying I'm a shiatsu specialist, but I do know that within the realms of deep tissue, you may have a scratch rec or hand motion or two going on as you DJ the body. I like
Right.
that. I think I'm proud of that one. Sometimes I come up with them and they suck ass. That one was nice.
That one's nice, bro. Yeah, man.
Um, nah, that's like really cool. I just wanted to make sure that we touched on it because of that people could come literally pay you to come shiatsu deep tissue them, and that's something
Yeah,
we're doing.
and I'm mobile. Like, I encourage staying at home kind of thing, because honestly, like when I was in class and we practice on each other, when I would receive shiatsu, I personally don't want to move, and 90% of the time I'm falling asleep. So you know I personally would want to be comfortable, so that's why I try to like make myself mobile. I have my own shiatsu mat that I can travel with. So, if somebody is in a state where they can't really come to the NDG studio, um, yeah, that's a beautiful
Hold up,
place. Like, I
big.
love it there. It's
Where
zen.
is the NDG studio?
It's just right outside of like Vendo Metro. Um, it's like 2 blocks away on North Cliff. Um, Obviously by appointment only. It's also a school, so you can't just walk up in there to get information, right? But I'm allowed to rent the space, and I have access to all the tools there. So we have the acupressure table, I have the shiatsu mats. Um, yeah, we have everything we need there.
All right, so I got a next question. It's kind of similar
Yep.
in tone and idea to this first question that we just did. If I were to want clothing made, who should I holler at?
Shit, all at me. I do that also.
Tell us about that.
Um,
Flex on your entrepreneurial hustle, my guy.
So, merch for me started back in like 2012. Yeah, around like 2000, no, even before that. But 2012 is when I kind of uh, started my own thing. But I used to make shirts at Steel Pan. Like they have their own silk screen, or they had their own silk screen machine. So that's how I first got introduced to like t-shirt making. So, those shirts you saw in that video, that 2010 performance, like we made those shirts, they made those shirts themselves, right? Um, and as an artist, as a rapper, I felt as though why not control my own merch, or make my own merch. um I was already like thinking as a label from like 2008 kind of thing.
Mm.
I called my thing like Sadistic Entertainment. um so yeah, I was always like, well, if I had artists, then I would want to be able to make merchandise. I want to do like my own videos, and all that artistic, all that creative aspects of being an artist. I wanted control of that. So 2012, I believe, that's when I got like my hands on like a one arm silk screen. So as opposed to like the six arms where I could do like three, four different colors, I got myself a one arm press where I was able to do just one screen at a time. And I practiced on that. I made a couple shirts here and there. um and yeah, that's how I got my hands started on that. Thing about it was like back then I sucked. I sucked, right?
I like it when
Yeah, back
people
then
say
I
shit like
sucked,
that a
bro.
lot. That's my favorite part because we all suck at everything at first.
Yo, I sucked. Right? Like I sucked. It wasn't as easy as it looked. I hated, well, I was still living at home obviously, and like my mom hated me having to change the lights in the bathroom from white to red every time I had to make a silk screen, right? I was trying to dry the shit in the bathroom, like under the ceiling fans and whatnot, do all my coding with the emulsion in the bathroom, and all of that hard work that goes into like silk screening. um but yeah, like it it wasn't like working out, so then that's when I kind of like I made my room red, or I realized, okay, I had the walls were red, my lights are blue. If I want to do a screen, I'll just change the lights to red, and I'll just do the screens in my room, right? So I'd put away like my recording equipment and make space for me to be able to do silk screening, right? um but yeah, like I kind of I sucked back then. I had a few like contracts that didn't work out, and like I got discouraged back then. I didn't continue with it. um but yeah, after that, I put it aside up until like now, in a sense. Like I always had a passion for merch. And my sisters they're doing their own thing. So I have two sisters. One, she does custom clothing, or she has her own clothing line based on African print, right? So she even made me this dope pillowcase, right? I got this dope pillowcase from her, like silk custom African print. It comes with like a bonnet or whatnot. She does dresses, different things, right? So my sisters got into the whole clothing fashion, or they picked it up where I left off, in a sense. um I have another one. She makes clothes out of like crochet, right? The yarn and whatnot. She does crochet work, so she makes some accessories and whatnot. um and I have another sister who runs like a fashion boutique. Right? So
So
we all
basically,
do some kind of fashion, right? Something fashion related, right?
so like Jamal's got the in-house consulting team to get any of the necessary things you could want from what's hip to like, actually getting it made. Yeah, that's fresh. That's fresh.
Yeah. Yeah. So, coming from like the hip hop and the urban side, I wanted to just keep that, fresh, like urban wear or whatnot. So, yeah, I do a lot of hoodies, t-shirts, whatnot. This right here is a custom piece, Black 365. If you go on expensive.com, I have some new pieces that I just created. Um and yeah, kind of just taking like that passion for kind of creating it for merchandise as an artist, kind of creating something for the people, for them to be able to wear also. It's not everybody's gonna want to wear a hoodie that says Jamal Hussein, right? Like, some girls might, but apart from that, you know,
Nah,
it would
you
be
absolutely know you'll have a whole bunch of dudes who want to be in the music video that will wear that hoodie.
for sure. Sure, I got my supporters out here. My brothers show me love.
No, but for real
But
though, I think what you're saying right there is really big. Like people ask me for a minute, like, "Yo, where the merch at?" And I'm like, "Nobody wants my merch," and I mean it because you
yeah,
know what nobody needs in the world right now, and it's why I like hesitate on it a lot. Is for me to put like my logo on another like article or shirt. Like who needs that shirt? I was thinking about it like practically. Who needs the shirt?
yeah,
You disappear for a second, video wise.
yeah,
Awesome. And it's not that I don't want the shirt. Obviously, down the line, I want the shirt. But I'm trying to think like your first merch drop. It's gotta be like lit. Otherwise, it's like
yeah.
just a shirt. But then in your
I
case,
feel you.
you made a shirt that's lit. I couldn't picture a shirt like that. Like that's a blessed shirt.
I
That's a shirt
appreciate
that a
that.
lot of people would just be like, "Nah, I want to rock that." But that's where I was like, "Yo, that's nifty." You want to? You're ultimately like branching into being like I don't know what it is. The label of a clothing designer. Is that what it is? A clothing designer? I don't actually know what the right term is.
Yeah, like I wanna bring these brands to life, man. Like, it's not just about me, right? Like, yeah, I showcase some ideas that I came up with on my website, but I want these Montreal artists to get some high quality stuff like locally. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And like that's the whole thing. If ever I were to have a label, it would be automatic. Like there's no question about it. Like this stuff would be automatic. Like every artist would have their thing, high quality
No, but I mean,
prints.
just look at your design. That design is blessed.
Yeah, appreciate like this. Honestly, like this came to me like as a download or as a vision. You know what I mean? Like, I made this I made this last year, like June of last year, before I even had any equipment,
But
before
like,
I was really thinking of like
but that's what
really
I.
launching a
So like, where
brand
I
or
was trying to
anything.
like get to a bit before is like, I had to hold off on like going for like regular ass merch. Even with the Bridge the Gap hoodie logo, it's something I will do, but it can't be the first thing because of like what you just said. Everybody out there is kind of doing it. So if you just put Jamal Hussein, that's like the regular. Nah, that's some shit that's like, what is that? What is
Mhm.
Black 360? I think it's African. What does it say? 365? Black
That's it.
365?
Back 365.
Man,
Yeah.
just like listen to that. You don't even need to like care who you are. You just want to cop that. But
I
then it could
feel you.
also be something that is who you are because you made it.
Yeah.
Bruh,
Yeah.
that's the kind of idea of branding that I'm waiting to hit me with gold. And then, well, I hit Jamal with like a quick idea with something I needed quick, because it's not even against going to Jamal for the things. That was the first guy I thought of right now. But it's really just I want something interesting with merch, and that's what I loved about what you did. Is like you're like, nah, if I just put my name on it, that's what a lot of people do. I've seen a lot of people lately do it. What I liked about like an example, Soul I Am, it's just this logo of an eye. You can just
yeah.
fuck with
Yeah.
that shit. You're like you don't need, and then he has the version with his name on it, but you has the version with just this cool logo on it, and I like that shit a lot. And Bridge the Gap is
Yeah,
super
man.
fucking cool, but it feels vain as fuck. Like I want something better. I want something like that, like what you're doing with your vision that comes to you downloaded. My vision hasn't been downloaded yet, and I fucks with that a
Well, we
lot.
could create, bro. We could create. Like, I'm not the biggest fashion designer or whatnot, or graphic designer, I should say. But as I said, like this came to me as like a download,
But
man.
that's
Like
it.
literally, I was like asleep, and it was just like, yo, Black 365. But on it, I have the quarter, right? I have a. If you look at it closely, or I put the quarter, the 1/4, right? So because you got to remember like the leap years, right? So I just got a little more creative with it. So it's like black 365 and a quarter, right? Because every, couple of years, whatever, we have that leap year.
That's
So it's
amazing.
366 every 4 years, right? So, I just threw that up there or whatnot. But I started doing this as like vinyl, right? And I launched my website with like the vinyl version, and I had a whole bunch of like pre-orders for vinyl. But then I came across something that was just even better, you know what I mean? So I put that on hold, and I was just like, nah, like, I want higher quality, or I want something that will last like forever in a sense, you know? And I came across a different method to do it. So then boom, like you have this version here where now like I'm able to offer like these full color prints to anybody, like any client, right? Anybody that wants to do like bulk orders, 20 pieces or more, like holler at me, like, we can get some serious merch going. Like your artwork will outlast the shirt or the hoodie material, like that kind of stuff,
Yo, I've been sold for a minute and then life hit. But yo, I'm sold. I'm personally
Yeah,
like, yo, he's the first guy I think of. But nah, I just wanted you to plug that too because motherfuckers need to support local, like when, especially with that man. I looked on the internet and I thought to myself, nah, I'm just gonna buy from somebody here. Like that's what we gotta do more. I think,
yeah, yeah.
like it that way we like bring it in, and then it creates a stimulation of money coming through, and then with that I get this commodity that I can sell, and that's blessed as fuck. So for me, that's a down the line move for sure. Like don't even get me wrong. And I think more people should look
No
at it like
doubt.
that, cause yo, and then if you do it in a 20 pack, for real, the 20 pack.
Yeah.
I could afford the 20 pack. I can't afford no fucking bulk order 500 fucking quote me this motherfucking shit on the internet that you see.
There you go, right? There you go. Trust me. And honestly, it was just like, I check out the local print shops, or I've got stuff made at a kiosk in the mall, for a show quick or whatnot, just because, I know they can do it right there on the spot, boom, boom. But like, what am I paying? Like 80, $90 for like one hoodie? Like, I remember one time I made some merch for a show I had to do in Toronto. Like, this was before I was doing my own stuff. And I went to that kiosk in the mall, and it was like, yo, the hoodie alone, I was paying for one vinyl hoodie with just one color or two colors on it. I'm paying like, $70 for that thing, $40 for a Jahmal Hussein shirt. I was like, hell no. For this cheap, like, like the quality is not even something super soft or anything like that. So it's like, nah, like it doesn't make sense. And a preach would tell you like he's somebody that doesn't wear brands. Like I don't wear much brands neither. Like I got over all that stuff.
Mm,
I'm simple. I'm a
that's
simple
big
guy.
facts. Look at this
I don't
brandless
care
hoodie.
for the brands.
To be fair, I will rock the Montreal's finest brand, and everybody should cop that shit
Oh,
at
for sure.
Instagram. Montreal's finest 1985.
For sure.
But I mean, it's got a good
I
keyword in
have
it.
like the last hoodie I can remember buying was from like the Hungry Bastard, right? Like
Mm.
I'm hungry, you know. I think, yeah, it was the time I did a show with Willie Scandals and everybody, man.
Hey,
Like, I was blessed.
Willie Scandals
So
mentioned that he remembered the Black Loves performing too, so it's cool that y'all connected
yeah,
on that.
respect. Yeah, man. Yeah.
No,
And
that's dope. Let me ask you a question. Can you make slippers?
I'm about to get into slipper making per se.
Alright. Well, I mean, it's like
I'm
this kind of motherfucker,
yeah,
like this shit right here with a logo on it.
yeah, I could definitely get a logo on that. I'm just looking into if I find like a supplier with some dope slippers, I can just add that to my line kind of thing.
Mm.
Add that to my product availability.
No, cause straight up,
Somebody earlier this year asked me about swimsuits, right? And I was just like,
yo, if you can
that's
pull off
dope.
slippers, that is blessed, my guy.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I've committed to. That was my first. Cause yo, I'm gonna be real with everybody out there. And if somebody steals the slipper idea, it is what it is. I don't care. I want to see my logo. if I'm on my merch item, I'm not looking at my shirt. I don't see that shit on a regular. It's not like I'm all day long. I don't see the hat. I don't see. I want to see my shit. I
I
see
feel
my
you.
shoes. I see my slippers.
Hmm.
I want to look down on my feet and see my fucking brand.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
And so I want. So if you pull out slippers, my guy, absolutely, we'll fucking set that shit up and start the bridge the gap slippers.
Yo, definitely. I'm a cop me a pair. I'm not gonna be like them dudes, right? Well, I'll just order me an extra slipper and just put it on the side. No, I'm a support, bro.
Nah, you can just
Right?
have it, man. If you making the slippers, fuck that. You can't. You can't be.
Nah,
Nah,
brother.
you just take the extra one on the side.
Nah, bro.
But nah,
You
like I was
gotta you
thinking,
gotta
like,
make your dollar too, bro.
don't worry about me. I'm okay. I want to do this because it's like to me, it's like fun, and maybe you make $1, and maybe some people have some slippers that are nice. That are yo, cause listen,
Yeah,
I know we're on slippers for a minute because I was thinking about how comfortable they are. You get a good pair of slippers, you can go outside with them. You don't have to put on shoes, and
that's it,
that's the
Panchi.
blessed shit ever.
Yo, a lot of people like to, they like them sliders, right? Um, Instead of getting yourself some Jordan slip-ons or whatever, Jordan sliders, right? Like get some bridge the gap ones, right?
Facts,
Like
or
why not?
whatever Jahmal
Something from the
Whosane
city,
decides
man.
to go with. Black 365
Right?
and a quarter
Some
slippers.
some expensive ones. Get you some expensive slippers.
Nah, man.
You
To me, like, but that's the kind of shit I think is whatever. Cause yeah, I don't think it's that saturated in local merch. Like, if you show up to the hip hop show and you see a slippers next to everybody else's shit, you might not cop them, but you might just cop them.
You might,
Your
but
feet
you'll
might be a little.
remember them.
Your feet might be a little sore in that moment.
But you'll remember them though.
No,
You
that's
know,
my
you'll
bless.
remember them.
So yo,
And
um, tell us about red pill, blue pill.
yeah, red pill, blue pill. Oh, my camera doesn't go out again. All right, red pill, blue pill. It's actually something I did prior to lockdown. Yeah, prior to lockdown. It's just, I heard the beat and I just came up with like the concept. It usually just starts like from the verse for me. It depends, but a lot of times, the verse will come to me, and I just wanted to make a song about people kind of chasing a lot of illusions in a sense. So that's why I started like, 24 carats don't make you real, right? Started out with that, and then just addressing certain things. I just want to know if I can build with you, you know, because now there's a lot of connections, or there's a lot of meaningless connections nowadays. A lot of people are looking for what they can get from just from like from this interview per se. Like, okay, I might be looking at what I can get from this. Oh, I might get 1 or 2 fans from this. I'm not looking at what you can get from this, like the knowledge or whatnot. People might be just looking at this as, yo, I'm just gonna plug my music, I'm gonna plug whatever's going on with me. Yo, fuck all these questions. Like, I just want you to go on
Just
Spotify,
thinking,
hit that play. You know what I mean?
wow,
But
man, nobody's done that.
for me, I'm all about like that long term, right? Those long term connections. Like, I'm very to myself, right? I'm very to myself.
So I really
But
like what you're saying because I definitely think that there are people who have, in fact, treated this process in such a regard, and I don't mean it like so bluntly. Everybody plays the game, but I don't know. Sometimes you can just feel the ways. The way you know what it is you can tell the before and after. How does somebody talk to you before the interview, and how does somebody talk to you after the interview? That one has been a fascinating experience to learn through.
right.
How do people treat you as things happen, etc. But there are a lot of meaningless connections in the world. Whether it's
Mhm.
just for like, even if you examine your friends list of people in your life right now, and you look at it from the context of what Jamal just described, where like you maybe go a little metric with it, a little pros and cons of value. Yo, sometimes you'd be surprised at how some people really don't like you. They just use you. Sometimes.
That's it.
Not always.
That's it,
Sometimes.
man. You know. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to address that, or get people thinking about that kind of idea as we enter this whatever is about to go on, right? We had a whole period where we have to social distance. We're still in that whole social distance thing, but it's like to the point where somebody sneezes and it's just like, whoa, we ain't even saying bless you anymore, right? Like that's kind of, when you think about it, it's kind of like, yo, we took like a 180 on that. We're not blessing anybody anymore, we're thinking they're cursed. Right? So just in terms of the connections we make, like going
Oh,
forward
that
and,
was
and
big.
whatnot, just
Yo, hold up.
evaluate who's there, man.
We went a full 180 on that. Whoa, that was bars.
Yeah, we did, brother. we,
Nah,
we took a full 180 on that, man.
I hear your
you
message
know
though, yo, because the world's about to snap back at some point.
that's it.
And I seen a few posts that made me go, really? And I'm like, okay. And that's as far as I go with that one. But I've seen a few
Okay,
things. You see some stuff. You see people's intentions. Um,
that's it.
and you're like, okay. There's just a few things I look for. First of all, I fucks with you heavy. I fucks with you. I fucks with preach. I fuck with what a lot of
Mhm.
y'all are doing because you can see the way people give knowledge and the way that people put out there. And I don't know, every interaction I've had with you feels more meaningful, we can say, than maybe some of the more vapid ones that have happened. And it's not to throw shade. I'm not supposed to
Uh,
connect with anybody. And it's like not like
that's it.
everybody out there is supposed to be some homeboy squad. I'm gonna roll with you till we fucking. That's not what it is. Just sometimes it's like, yo, let's do
Exactly.
this thing. Let's make it happen. Boom, we made this moment. Let's move on. And some people is
Yeah,
different. But
that's
like,
exactly that.
nah, but like it's. I like your perspective. I like the fact that like in every conversation I've had with you, you seem very forward thinking. There's one more thing I think you should absolutely flex on because we have to flex on. I put more because I didn't want to like too much connected to your life. But talk about working with kids.
Oh man, like working with kids, like I'm the eldest of 12, like biological, and like four stepbrothers and sisters. With the stepbrothers, I end up having like an older sister, but basically, like I'm the eldest of 12, right? And for the longest time, like all I've been getting was sisters. I had four sisters before I even got a brother, right? um well, five sisters it ended up being, five sisters before I ended up getting a brother. So basically, um I just grew up, yeah, around obviously a lot of girl children, or pick girl, yeah, women, whatnot,
Ah, I know what pick
stepmothers,
me is.
whatever it is, right? Yeah, girl pick me. um so yeah, I grew up around my sisters, whatnot. Even my cousins, a lot of them would be like girls or whatever it is. You get few boys here and there, but being the first is like, I had the responsibility of being like the leader. My dad kind of instilled that in me. And apart from being in steel pan like all the time, like I would always remember that. um so I just tried to make sure like I was an example. um so then by the time I ended up in like high school or in different situations, I was just a mentor for um, like my colleagues or my bandmates, um, younger brothers or sisters, right? So being a part of the Salah Steel Pan Academy, I was always around like Salah's grandson. He was young. He just turned like 22 the other day, kind of thing. But it's like I've been around this kid since he was like 4 years old, you know? And it's just like, um, yeah, it was always that family. We always had like a family vibe, I looked to them as like my older sisters or whatnot. It was always like a family vibe, outside of the school, it just felt like family. So I used that, like the whole academy, um as like inspiration or as motivation to like continue working with the youth. So by the time I was like 15, 16, and stuff like that, most of my summer jobs would be working in the camps or working in the summer schools, right? Um, so yeah, I would find those jobs where I can just be a positive influence on, younger children or whatnot. Um, Also, the leadership played a great role in that too. Um, just kind of making sure the younger generation had their head on straight.
That's fresh though. And
Yeah.
you work with what is it, West Haven Community Center? Is that the West?
Yeah, so right now it's West Haven. I'm a volunteer for West Haven Community Center. They just started streaming on Fridays. They got their Twitch page going up, and right now they're doing a lot of DJing. They call it like the Freestyle Friday, but they got some teenagers coming and showcasing like, their 20 track playlists for the week, or the hottest songs they listen to. Um, and a lot of them are showcasing different genres or whatnot. Like we're talking about the future DJs of Montreal, um, and it's great to see. It's great to see them do their thing.
Yo, so
Um,
let me understand this. I need to come talk to you to find out what the fuck I should be listening to if I want to be young again.
if you want to be young again,
No, I mean that from a marketing perspective. Let's say I want to drop
yeah,
a song that's hot. A song that's hot
yeah,
probably has to have some appeal with somebody who's 18. Or like it's probably not going to be a hot song.
that's it. And I feel that too, and it's like that's why I kind of took like a different direction. And a lot of the stuff I have on like Spotify, kind of has like that trap feel to it until like you take a deeper dive into the lyrics, right? And you're just like, oh, he's not talking about selling drugs or you know degrading women or whatever
If
it
it
is, right?
counts, man, I don't even hear that with none of the youth out here. I listen to a lot of these young ones because, yo, I went on
Mhm.
this like. So yo, it's pretty easy to find out if somebody's from Montreal on Spotify. Just go to the number of listeners, right? Like where
Right,
they're from, and you'll see like
right.
Montreal, Longueuil, whatever. You're like, okay, that guy has to be Montreal, like
Yeah,
has to be because
it's
there's
true.
only like
Yeah,
no disses, but there's only like less than 100 most time. So
yeah.
if you only have less than 100 and they're all from Longueuil and shit, you're in Montreal. You're in that
Yeah,
area,
Montreal.
which is
That's
not
it,
fair.
man.
And so I've been bumping a lot of it, and I would say it's a lot of emotional stuff. So it's not
Hmm.
necessarily conscious cognitive in that regard. But if you look at it as heart music instead of brain music, my guy, it's rich. The city's
Yeah,
rich with
yeah,
heart music. It's just
yeah.
sometimes the heart wants to do drugs and other such
I
things.
agree. Like, yeah, when you look at the scene in the city, yeah, I definitely would agree. Like, it's a lot of heartfelt, and I think that's where we get the diversity, man. Like, that's where you get the groups like Shades of Culture and Nomadic Massive and Community. Like,
But
a
you know
lot
what,
of those
yo,
artists are
it's
doing
it's
things
crazy
from
that
the
you're
heart, man.
saying it like with the OGs. I was only thinking of people under the age of 25 as I said that.
No, I hear you. I hear you. But a lot of it like stems from those collectives, right? A lot of it stems from those collective. And the ones under 25 right now, I, I don't even know like who per se are their influences like
All
on
right, so let me
you
break
know
that down because I interview them, so I can say
mhm.
with at
Go
least
ahead.
6 people have had the exact same story. So there's got to be a regularity. All right, let's bring it back. You're a young man. Shit's 2010. You're like 11. You got your first Galaxy S3 slash iPhone, whatever crap. You discover this wonderful fucking app called YouTube. And on this thing called YouTube, there is a Led Zeppelin, and there is a disco, and there's a Lil Wayne, and there is a Tupac, and there is an R&B,
Yeah.
and B, and there is a soca, and there is a metal. And you spent your entire high school life cherry picking what the fuck you wanted to listen to, regardless of whatever. That is almost across the board the experience I get when I ask people about their musical journey and they're under a certain age threshold. It is like under 25. Yo, I listen to everything. What the fuck you think? Didn't you do that? And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I didn't. And I
Mm.
realized that's us applying our nostalgia to this generation that had a completely different experience than us. And as such, they sing, they rap, they know what Drake does, but they also know what Shady does, but they also know what Wayne does, but they also can tell you about Black Dot. And then you're like, wait, what? And then they're like, yeah, but bro, check out Mos Def. And I'm like, wait, what? And then we
Yeah,
see
yeah,
how the media captures the five guys who say some dumb shit about Tupac. Like, yo, everybody when they talk about this shit, they talk about
always.
Billboard, right?
Yep.
Now, Billboard in 1995 isn't the most righteous beacon fucking thing ever. Y'all know Illmatic was not a commercial success at launch. Everybody wants to herald it like, yo, look at what's seven. So then he becomes Pablo Nascobar on the next album. Now I
Mm.
don't like nobody follows up the Nas 17-year-old brilliance with nah. So now the kids go, nah, look at the Nas story. Look what he had to go do before he could be conscious Nas as an old man. He had to go do that. So they're like, whatever now, let me get that money so that when I turn 35, I'm not broke. And I'm like, yo, these kids is just smart. And I don't know why people's hating. Like if I'm 17,
It's true.
why am I like why do I need to be writing that shit? Even being 17 today isn't the same as being 17 when we was 17.
Facts, bro.
So it's like, yo, I don't know,
Facts.
man. No, there's not a single person I have talked to under the age of 25 that has lived up to the stereotype that is presented to me by people who describe these young people. And I'm like, who the fuck are you talking about? And don't get me
Mm.
wrong, I'm not saying that there aren't people mimicking mainstream sounds. I'm saying they're getting better numbers than me at younger ages. And then I have to go, what if that guy, by the time he's my age, has a label and shit because he did this now? And then I have to ask myself a question. Like, yo, maybe I'm just thinking it wrong. Like maybe I don't know what makes sense. Yo, cause am I crushing it as a musical artist? No. No, I'm not. I might be doing okay with interviews these days. It's certainly not holding the rapper man these days.
Yeah. Puts things in perspective, bro. Trust me. And yeah, bro, for me back then it wasn't, yeah, I didn't really, push my thing the way others were pushing it, because back then it was a lot of the spam, the spam links, as we were talking about the other day, right? A lot of it was just like, yo, I'm receiving messages from artists like, yo, check this out, da 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 da. But for the most part, nothing is really intimate,
Have
as
you checked
opposed to
out the
where
gram?
it's like,
Are you doing this on the
say,
gram though? Because on the gram it's different. You got kids doing behind the scenes fucking videos of how they make their songs, singing bad a cappella, then the before and after. Dude, I'm telling you, I'm watching Instagram. It is not Facebook. Instagram.
yeah, man, now it's a whole different thing though. Now it's a whole different thing. But like back then, bro,
Yeah,
it
back
was
then
like,
it was
yo,
not.
the MySpace counter, right? Like all these rappers in the city, like the young ones at the time, they were running that counter on their thing, bro. So it's like, how does this record have 32,000 plays? Like, you know what I mean? Like, nah, I don't believe that. But anyways, but it was a lot of, that spam links. You get that message in the inbox, and but the thing was, there's no intimacy, right?
No.
You're tagged with like 94 other people, and it's just like, this artist dropped this, boom, 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 check it out. Chances are it's just like, okay, I don't even know who you are, or whatever. So, most artists pass. And I got so much of that where it's just like, nah, I wasn't doing that, you know? And again, like my style was different or whatever. I wasn't really catering to any like mainstream sounds that um yeah, that was out there or anything like that. So I just, put out my music one night, post the links here and there, whatnot. Send it to a few people that I know, fuck with my music. And I remember like giving full course like a copy of the CD, like when we shot a Step Your Bar game up. I was just like, well, if anything, I value his opinion, so I'm gonna give it to him as
Ooh,
an OG
yo,
artist.
I like what you
And
just said there.
yeah,
Hold the fuck up. That was possibly my favorite knowledge nugget of the whole night, actually. I value his opinion as though everyone is entitled to an opinion, is a thing that is a
yeah,
real thing. But maybe we don't need to ask everybody everybody's opinion about everything, which is another thing that happens. And so I've come to see as an artist when I was younger, I used to go, yo, tell me what you think of this song to like everybody. And it was a bad thing
hmm,
because, yo, you know what happens? You get like, yo, imagine you ask 500 people what they think of your song. And 250 people say that shit fire. And 250 people say that shit dope. What do you do next?
exactly.
And
What do
it's
you do?
crippling. So, like, to find people whose opinions you value for specific things, for reasons, and listen to those people, that's mentorship. That's bless.
Yep, that's it. That's it. And it's like, you know, um, as I said, like Preach was always watching me and whatnot. So Preach would say, "Yo, I have this show opportunity. Boom, boom, boom. Like, here's this. Here's the information. Show up, whatever the case is." And it's just like, all right, cool. And what I appreciated about it is just like I don't have to speak to the man for like the whole year, in a sense, right?
Mm.
But it's just like he's always watching, and if I drop certain records or whatever, here and there he'll pop up as he gives you the phone calls or whatever, and he'll give his 2 cents on certain things, right?
Yeah.
And I used to be at Preach's house like every day in like 2012. So, all these ideas and all these things that I was doing back then, when I started the t-shirts and all of that, like I was always around Preach, right? Preach introduced me to like the other side of the game, right? I got to go to the set of the movie or the music video that he shot for the movie, Sur le rythme, back in like '08. I got to see that side. I got to meet Miriam, Sashi, and all of them, right? So I got introduced to what like the whole publishing side of music is. You know, Preach would tell me about publishing, his publisher, how he got music in certain TV shows and whatnot, right? And it was just like, yo, listening to all of that from like 2012 is just like, wow, it's a lot of knowledge nuggets that I've soaked in over the years, so that if I did decide, or if I do decide like now, to like go hard on the music in a sense, I have all these knowledge nuggets, right, that I can piece together and be like, okay, well, I kind of established my brand already. I was the Martian, I kind of rebranded myself as Jahmal Whosane, kind of make it even more intimate, even more personal. um I'm doing my merch, I'm doing my shiatsu, I'm doing this and that. Like, how do I
Yo,
incorporate
I love it.
me into everything, right?
You know what's mad bless about that? It makes you an influencer.
Yeah. Like
It's not a
at the end
negative
of the
term,
day,
yo. It
no, at the end of the day, it's just if we influence anybody in a positive way, right? That's always the goal. So if it's one person, I'm grateful for that, and there's a lot of youth that like I know personally that's been looking up to me since they were like 16, since they were like 14. Now they're like 20, 22 or whatever the age is. And I can always like check back on them, or hit them up and be like, yo, like, what are you doing, kind of like what Preach is doing or has done, like with me. um
I like that.
so there's guys that I want to build with. I know they got skills, and kind of to keep them
That's
off of the
amazing.
streets the way like Steel Pan helped keep me off of the streets. I would, at the end of the day, kind of like have my own community center running, just like, yo, what do you want to do as an artist? Like, are you into filming? Are you into, you know graphic designing, making merchandise? Like, what is it you want to do?
Yo,
All right,
dude,
you
this
love
is like
music, you
brilliant.
love, yeah, you love hip hop, you love this, and like, what is it? It doesn't have to be yo, you love reggae, you love, I love reggae too. I love roots. Like, I'm a roots man. You're a reggae artist, yo, come true. Like, what can we do? you know
Dude, that's really
what
huge.
can we do?
I like the way you look at that. I think it's so important to think like that. Like to me, it's like I'm not necessarily saying I'm good at it. I only started thinking about this kind of stuff recently. But when I hear you, the other thing, the reason why you get to be an influencer, in my opinion, is the bigger reason is you're interesting. Like it was actually kind of fun writing your title. It was like, what do I? There's a lot to say. Sometimes it's like it's not always easy to write the titles for the interviews, but I'm like, yo, actually, I have choices here. So first he's a Montreal artist, then he's a Shiatsu specialist, and then I put clothing provider because I wanted to be a little mysterious with it because it's like you
Yeah,
provide
yeah.
and then more because there was more, and that's what's fucking crazy, right? Like how
There's more,
much there
man.
is to you as a person. Like yo, it's 10:20 something. We are gonna wrap up soon because I'm getting hungry and shit.
Yeah,
But like
yeah.
already, I'm like, we stopped your story on purpose a bit. I do that. I do that at a certain point when I'm like, nah, we can get a whole second episode, 100% fill out another big old thing like that. So we're gonna do that in the future at some point. We'll definitely set it up.
For sure.
I mean, given you want to come back, okay? I'm being presumptuous,
Of course, brother. Of
but
course, man. I
nah,
feel welcomed, I feel welcome, and the artists, the DJs, everyone you had on the show, man. Like, you made them feel comfortable, bro. Like, it feels like home. Like, yeah, it basically feels like home, bro. It's like I'm just talking to you and whatnot. A couple homies checked in on the line, like a three-way or whatnot. Like, it's vibes, man. I enjoy it.
I like it too. I'm not gonna lie. I would say this whole COVID situation didn't hurt my career thinking with this imagination, but whatever's. I do look forward to being able to do this in person again. That would be fresh. That would make it a lot more intimate. If there's a way to viably do that, that would be fucking great. But in the meantime, we Zooms. It's a fun time. Everybody
Hmm.
enjoys it. Do you have any last like words you want to say to all the peoples out there? And they've all been linked to your instas and stuff the whole show, and the other peoples will see
Respect,
it in the
respect.
links below.
Yeah, just look out for the new music coming out. Go get that red pill, blue pill if you haven't already. Go check out the other stuff that I, recently dropped
Oh,
on Spotify and whatnot. Um, yeah, look out for the new music coming out though. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot on that, red pill, blue pill vibes, right? Like, just breaking down the illusion in a sense, man. Like,
I
getting the
like it.
people back to their natural state, man. So, if you do need some grounding and some energy work, you can hit me up for that. But make sure y'all take
Mad
care of
interesting.
yourselves, take care of your health, protect your energy. First and foremost, protect your energy. And yeah, man.
So yeah, we
Once
do.
you do all of that, then you could check out what I got to offer.
So you got one more question from Ishmael. Which young DJ should we check for?
Young DJs. Well, I know on Twitch, who's part of the Vibe Tribe, we got a DJ Nicholas. He's like 15, right? So if you check out Preacher's stream, um, yeah, you might be in the chat here and there, but there's a DJ Nicholas who's like 15, if you mean like that kind of young, that's doing their thing. Um, Honestly, like Twitch got a lot of them. I don't know them all offhand. I know I'm following quite a few. Um, City wise, if you check out West Haven Teens, right, twitch.tv West Haven Teens, you can see these kids as they're developing their skills. And if you follow them, you can see where they end up in a few years. I think that would be pretty interesting.
I think that'll be
Um,
fucking interesting. I'm excited.
yeah,
That is
yeah,
cool. I'm actually typing it in right now so I can make sure to go follow it. Then I'll link it in
yeah.
the chat so y'all can go follow it. And I see that they need 15 more followers now in order to, get a little something, something happening.
That's it. Yeah. So, hit that follow button on West Haven Teens, man.
Boom.
Support the
Link
youth.
that shit. And
Yeah. Support the youth. Um, yeah. You know, check out Twitch, bro. Like what I did when I came on Twitch, man, I didn't just, you know, join the DJ streams that I'm familiar with, right? Like I probably started off with like DJ Blaster and some other ones that I know. But what I did, man, I just left my Twitch on, man, because these guys are part of some raids, right? The raid trains. If
we're
you're
actually going to
familiar
raid
with,
DJ Bobby Payne right after this.
that's it, Shout out to my brother, my big bro. But yeah, so if you just stick around for these raids, man, you never know where you'll end up.
Big
And
facts.
I'm someone who doesn't really shut off the computer, so I kind of let, if the vibes are right, like I used to let the music play all night as I sleep, man. Like listen to some R&B and stuff like that I haven't heard in a while. Um, like DJ Franzen, I'd be in his streams a lot. So that when he signs off, it's like I wake up in somebody else's room
Yeah.
the next morning, kind of thing, and it's like, okay, some nice vibes here. So you never know where you'll end up, and part of the hype train is you might get gifted a sub,
It
right?
is the
So
best.
it is the best, man. So I ended up with like 15 subs for different DJs. I had no idea who they were, and just because I got the sub,
Then you go
right?
back.
So I go back, I see they're live, and it's like, okay, I'll check it out. It's like, okay, this is actually dope. I can vibe.
I love it a lot.
So
I
yeah, man.
I appreciate you coming through, and yo, I really do. I thank y'all for coming on and watching this. If you're not on the Twitch, make sure to hit up the Twitch in the future. Make sure to follow everybody. Definitely thank you for watching. Thank you all in the future who watch this. Make sure to follow, subscribe, like all that good stuff. Special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Pratt, Jonathan Bryan, CJ Black, Hurricane, Linda Williams, and Scribble. You dub, support what we do. If you're here and you do have that free Amazon Prime, you can go ahead and hit that little subby poo in the future. Patreon.com/behind that suit. Otherwise, we appreciate y'all for reals. It's been amazing. Thank you, Jahmal, for all the knowledge nuggets. And honestly, your story is truly amazing. I'm glad that we had this chance to learn it all. We're gonna start the raid in a second, but yo, live long and prosper, everybody. Now I'm hitting the raid button.